welcome everyone to the Wakefield Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024. A reminder to everyone that's on the Zoom here that this is being recorded. It will be available on the town's website within the next few days. We're going to start by taking attendance. Dave Hatfield.
Here.
Joe Pride.
Here.
Chip Tarbell.
Here.
Mickey Feely.
Here.
Kasumi Humphreys.
Yeah.
Greg Demersion.
Here.
Kirsten Brown reached out. She had a family matter. She's not going to be able to attend tonight's hearing. With that, I'm going to ask our clerk, Joe Pride, to read the legal notice for tonight's meeting.
Sure thing. Consistent with the governor's orders extended certain provisions of the open meeting law, every effort will be made to allow the public to view and or listen to the meeting in real time. If you do not have a camera or microphone, you can on your computer, you may use the following dial-in number 1-301-715-8592. Meeting ID 890-6967-5276, passcode 248404. Please only use dial-in or computer and not both, as audio feedback will distort the meeting. This meeting will be audio and video recorded. In compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, this location is accessible to people with disabilities. Wakefield provides reasonable accommodations and or language assistance free of charge upon request. If you are a person with a disability and require information on materials in an alternate format, or if you require any other accommodation, please contact the town's disability coordinator, William Renault, town engineer, at 781-246-6308 as far in advance of the event as possible. Every effort will be made to grant your request. Advance notification will enable the town to make reasonable arrangements to remove an accessibility barrier for you. 1, continued hearings. 2, 25-18, Kerry A. Casey and Brian P. Casey. Application for determinations and or finding with respects to a continuation and extension of non-conforming uses under Article 9, Section 190-50 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw to construct in addition onto an existing single-family dwelling. The property is shown as map 38, lot parcel B43 of the assessors map and is located at 15 Mural Ave, Board of Appeals.
Thank you, Joe. We've had a couple of requests for continuance, so as is our custom, we're going to read those into the record. First up, letter dated today, October 23rd, from attorney Brian McGrail regarding 35 Stark Ave, case number 2511. Please continue this matter until your hearing on December 11th, 2024. And I continue to work with the building inspector in an effort to address the matter stated in his letter. We are also preparing a filing with the Conservation Commission applicable to this matter. Please let this letter confirm that the applicant has agreed to extend the time for the board to render and or file any decisions until January 31st, 2025. So looking to continue to December 11th and to accept the extended timeline to January 31st of 2025.
Mr. Chair, I move that we continue the matter at 35 Stark Ave to our December 12th, 2024 meeting and accept the applicant's request to extend the time for this board to hold that hearing and render a decision till January 31st, 2025.
Seconded.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing, seeing none, regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mickey,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Matters continued. Next up, a letter from attorney Brian McGrail dated today, October 23rd, regarding 15 Muriel Ave, case number 2518. Please continue this matter until your meeting on November 20th, 2024, and the client's making some revisions to their plans.
Mr. Chair, I move that we continue the matter at 15 Muriel Ave to our meeting on November 20th, 2024.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing, seeing none, regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Mickey,
Yes.
Excuse
and I
me.
vote yes.
I'm sorry, I'm one of the neighbors of that property. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, the matter's going to be continued till November.
I understand that. Where can we actually see the plan or whatever they're asking to do?
You can go to the town's building department and the plans are on file there. You could also ask if you're a neighbor. I would ask the person that filed the application if they're willing to share the plans. That's probably the best thing to do.
Okay.
Mr. McGrail, I see you on the line.
I'd like you to take a shower.
Is your client here?
No, Mr. Chair, but I represent them, so. and-
Could
and
you
I-
let, could you let them know that Rebecca Anderson is looking for a little bit of information on what the filing is?
Sure, that's fine. I assume they know who you are, Rebecca?
No, I'm new to the neighborhood.
Oh, what's your address, if you don't mind?
32 Mitchell, I'm right behind them.
Gotcha. We'll make-
Construction site behind them.
Gotcha. Yeah, we'll make sure we get in touch and.
Okay,
And just so you know, the plans are gonna be changed a little bit, so you might want to hold off going to town hall.
oh,
that's
no,
what-
I just want to know what they're doing.
Yeah, that's why we continued.
Okay, all right,
I didn't want
thank
you to go
you.
to town hall, look at plans that are gonna change before the next meeting, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, back to the agenda. First up is case 2410, which is 119 Nahant Street. It's the comprehensive permit. The applicant is not here tonight. Attorney Panos sent a letter looking for a continuation until the November hearing. But I did want to open it up because Chip and I met as a subcommittee with the applicant last week. They have altered and amended their plans. They have reduced the number of units from 100 to 80. They've made some site plan amendments. They obviously have to reconnect with the TAC as well. And they plan to be here on November 20th. Despite the reduction in units, Chip and I suggested some further reductions and some further amendments to their plan, especially regarding the facade along Nahant Street. So we are going to look to continue this matter, but I wanted to give an update to board members about what was happening there and what happened at the subcommittee meeting last week. Chip, do you want to add anything?
No, I think you summarized it pretty well, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Looking for a motion then to continue the matter to our meeting on November 20th. If folks remember, we moved our meeting to the November 20th. So.
Tom, can I ask a question on that?
Sure
Did
thing.
they move did they move the building at all, or is it still kind
They
of the
moved the
same?
building back. They increased the setback from the Nahant Street.
Significantly.
Can I ask question too?
Yeah,
Was
it's
the-
70. I'm sorry,
was the-
70 foot from the setback is now 70 feet from the street.
Was the reduction taking out one of the floor or more like
One of the floors was reduced. It's reduced from 5 to 4 stories. But again, Chip and I asked them for more, so I don't want to make all the representations here because we're hoping that they make further amendments to it.
Right. But we did think it would be inappropriate not to have them share where they're at with you. So hopefully when they come back to all of us, it will be smaller again.
Okay,
Right,
so
and
we've
if you-
already extended it to the end of the year. They're asking to continue to November. So between now and then, Mr. Chair, you're anticipating there'll be at least one more subcommittee meeting and maybe they get before TAC in the next month?
Chip and I offered our availability for subcommittee meeting and
Okay,
strongly that they get a hold of TAC because
Okay.
this
It's all
board is
about-
going to be very interested in
Right.
what comes out of that.
right. Because that's, again, where a lot of the public safety information is coming from. So, but okay. All right. Well, hopefully we'll see something the Friday before so we can have a discussion with them and the full public on the 20th. So, all right.
That's the plan, Dave.
All right. All right, Mr. Chair, make a motion that we continue this matter to our November 20th, 24 meeting.
Seconded.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing, seeing none, regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes,
Nikki,
Yeah, yes.
and I vote yes. That matter's continued. Next up on the agenda, case 2420, 32 Nahan Street LLC, comprehensive permit application. Board members would have received some further information on Friday from the applicant. I thought I saw Mr. Haverty earlier on that area again. So Mr. Haverty, with that, I will turn it over to you and your team.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I will turn it over to Andrew Jones from Phoenix Architecture to report back on the discussions that were held with Chip Tarbell and the resulting changes to the plan from those discussions.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and board members. Andrew Jones, Phoenix Architects. If you want, I can just jump into the architectural and start to show the adjustments we
please.
made there.
Please do.
Okay, can everyone see the screen?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so we really looked at, getting more green space and reducing the parking, which can be discussed after this, but architectural wise, what we looked at doing was reducing some of the parking spaces in the back right corner and actually creating a covered patio area that can be accessed from any unit inside the building that would bleed off into what we're showing as a landscaped area, patio area, and a little fire pit in the back that you'll see shortly. And then what we also looked at doing was giving small little patio areas to the units on the first floor. So you see them where there was double windows prior, we're now showing sliding doors. And that's really it. I'll kind of go around to the elevations to start showing what that looks like. The left elevation, we're actually building up a wall to separate the parking and the covered patio amenity. And then, sorry for jumping around. This is the right elevation, so you'll start to see the new sliding doors off the right-hand side, along with carrying the roof line that we did over some of the other exit areas, with just a metal roof and some Vipon brackets to break up the verticality and also give a little bit of coverage when going out. And then you'll start to see in the back, small adjustment with the covered patio area. So very minor from an architectural standpoint. I believe Paul is gonna discuss the site plan next, so.
Actually, and I apologize, Mr. Chairman, our project engineer, Chris Baragis, and our traffic engineer, Scott Thornton, were unavailable to attend tonight. But the project's developer, Scott Green, is here and he can go over the changes to the site plan. Scott, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Andrew, could I ask you, would you mind putting up the site plan, please?
Absolutely.
When we sat with the committee there, with Chip, we looked at moving the building a little bit, and it wasn't making any sense because it was still, that space would have been kind of useless on the right-hand side. Plus people gathering there with my neighbors to the right. I don't think the noise and stuff like that would have been too good. We looked at the back corner there as our best alternative for some green space and to put like a fire pit. We took out some spaces. I believe it was 3 car spaces we took out. Hold on 1 sec. We reduced from 6 to 3 spaces extra. And this was done to accommodate the new outdoor amenity. 2 landscape islands have been removed to maximize the amenity area. We have created an outdoor in the northeast corner of the property, approximately 1,930, just under 2,000 square feet of land was included in a large fire pit area. And then we put an overhang underneath the building there for additional area there for hanging out. We also, if the town would allow, I'd be happy to clean up in back of the property there and do some planting of some trees too. If the town would allow me to do that, to try to, clean everything up and give some green space, more green space. But this is, and then we planted bushes there. It's kind of, we tried to keep it all in one area for grilling and a fire pit and a hangout area. And that's pretty much it. Like
What's,
to hear
Mr. Green, what's the parking ratios now?
we have 3 extra spaces. And we still have the 2 spaces for delivery. So we lost 3 spaces.
But we still have more than what's
But we
required.
still
under the
more
zone.
than, we were 6, we had 6 plus before. Now we have only 3 plus, which is still 3 over what's required. And we didn't lose any deliveries. We still have 2 delivery spaces too, which I thought was pretty good.
Okay. Anything else that you're here to present?
One of the other, and I don't know if I should bring it up right now. We did talk. I talked to Scott, the traffic study guy, engineer, and he heard back from, is that Mr. Anderson, Officer Anderson, is it?
Yeah, Lieutenant Anderson.
Lieutenant Anderson. And we'd be willing to do this. I didn't want to do this yet till it came back late just yesterday. And he said he had to get some comments back from the other 2 people on the committee in regards to taking the driveway and doing a mirror image, flip-flopping it, and having the driving entrance basically at the opposite end of the property, kind of just mirror imaging the property. If the board, he liked that idea. It keeps it a little further away from the intersection. And I'd be willing to re-engineer a little bit and
So you talk about flipping the site, moving the building to the opposite side and moving the driveway to where the building is now.
correct. Yeah, just reversing it. That gets us further away. He liked that idea traffic wise and stuff. So that's what I was told. He liked that better.
Okay. Anything else?
That's pretty much it right now. I apologize for the engineer not being here. I tried to do the best I could and
Yep.
try to work with you guys.
I just want to make sure you're complete before I turn it over to the board for comments and questions.
Mr. Chairman, that's our presentation. I don't know if Chip wants to weigh in and provide board, a discussion of exactly, his participation in that change, and then, well, obviously we'll listen to whatever the board has to say.
Okay, thank you. Chip? You want to add color, Chip? You're on mute.
Yeah, okay, now I'm unmuted. So what we came back with is that we had heard, certainly size of the unit, green space, parking, traffic, safety, right? Those are all the issues. So we started on with the size of the building and reducing the size of the building or density of the building was a non-starter. They've come down to where they feel they can be and can't take any more units out. So given that, we then started looking at, there's got to be a place somewhere between green space and parking. So this is kind of a compromise to both. It still allows for visitor parking on site above and beyond the numbers that they need to have. and it opens up the green space to an opportunity for socializing, grilling, fire pit use type of thing. So I thought it was a little bit of a give and take on both sides, and kind of where we ended up, and I thought it was worthwhile for you guys to see and comment on.
Okay, thank you. Other board members, comments, questions? Mickey?
Quick question. The little patios that are going out to the right and maybe the left if you move the building. Are there fences separating those, or are those just open?
We are showing some vegetation in between. There's a fence on, I'm sorry, for some reason this keeps jumping quickly. We are showing a fence along the property line. and
Oh, I'm
then-
just, you added green space, which is great. I'm just trying to make sure that it wasn't blocked off by big white fences.
Yep, no. So there's gonna be 3 outdoor patios and they're all separated with small vegetation in between.
One more question. The parking allotment per unit, are those doled out, or is it kind of find a spot, or are they assigned?
I couldn't answer that one. Scott, you think you can? Otherwise, we may need to get back to Chris on that.
All right, I was just trying to find out, like, are those 3 extra spaces in general, or are they gonna have visitor on it? Or if you have 6 people that want to park there, are some of these spots, random spots that might be open, filled by them? That's it.
So my experience is that not assigning spots to units is more beneficial in that it allows for a more efficient use of the available spaces. So my recommendation to my client would be that you do not assign spaces to specific units.
What it looks like is they had 6 visitor before in that back corner, and now we have 3. So
Correct.
there's still 3 designated visitor, and however they want to manage the other ones. It
Okay.
sounds like they have a recommendation, but I think the 3 visitor is still good to have them designated as such.
Yeah, that's fine.
Keep them off the street. Yeah.
Great.
Okay, Mickey, you set?
And down.
All right, Kasumi, I thought I saw your hand next.
I really do like the new patio area and the fire pit area. But it's just a half wall between the patio area and the last parking spot.
Correct.
Would you willing to add some like lattice or something just to kind of buffer a little bit more on the parking spot in the outdoor patio area? Or maybe like some kind of vine, like vegetation or something, a little bit more privacy?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that at all. I think that's actually a pretty good idea, just to give it.
Okay, yeah, I
little
think
bit
it's
of a
just
buffer.
like if somebody's parking right next to it, coming in and out, it might not feel as private as if you're in a patio area.
Yep, makes sense.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Joe?
Yes, you mentioned behind the lot, what, is that conservation land back there? That you might wanna do plantings back there? Or is that just town owned?
That's conservation land. I think it's
It's town-owned.
land.
Yes.
Town owned conservation? So, all right,
That-
the other thing you talked about flipping the lot. What's the, so that'll help the neighbor on the right and hurt the neighbor on the left. Is it the same setback? Or does it get worse for the neighbor on the left? And, like, what's the setback on the right from your lot line to the house? And then if you flip it, does that start encroaching even worse for the neighbor on the left?
I don't
I
believe.
mean, I know you talk about traffic, but I hate to start squishing this bill. If the person on the left is right on her property line, that might not make sense. I don't know if you have that information, but
And
don't.
So
Kasumi,
just, I can just chime in, just looking at it quickly. This lot line to the right and left run at a little bit of an angle, and they're very similar though. I would be saying that if we did do the flip, kind of what the setback is in the back would actually be the front. And what the setback in the front is would be in the back, if that makes sense, just as you do it.
Yeah, but I guess my question is, like the neighbor on the left, does she have like 10, does she have 10 feet or 12, 15 feet to from her right side of the house to the lot line? And the same on the left side, the neighbor on the, I mean, I'm sorry, the neighbor on the right side, or what I'm saying is like, will you be,
I get what you're saying.
by moving it, will you be actually even like making that dimension even smaller? You know what I'm getting at?
I do. I believe that there's a driveway before the house. Let me, in the meantime, if anyone else wants to answer questions, I'll try to pull up one of Chris's old, site
I could
packages to
probably,
see.
I
If
could
you go
probably
to
do
the-
it through Google Maps too, but I just curious. Like, I just don't want the lady on the person on the left all of a sudden now. She was, she probably wasn't okay with it to begin with, but now all of a sudden it's gonna be right up against her house. If that's the case, I don't know what her property line is on the right side of her house, and then like that, the same thing on the house on the right side of this property, what that distance is on from her house to the left.
Yep.
So I hate to have you flip it and then all of a sudden make it even worse for that neighbor.
Makes
Just to
sense.
get, I hear the traffic thing, but what are we moving this thing 20, 30 feet? That's just an extra 3 cars. I guess it helps, but I hate to, so that was it.
I hear you,
Just
Joe.
take a look at
Andrew,
that.
can you go to the beginning of this presentation where you have the houses depicted? I know it's not gonna be perfect, but it might give an idea of what Joe's talking about.
Yeah.
It's on the site plan. It's on the site plan. Site plan, not architecturals.
There
You
go.
can see the houses.
There's
on
only
the-
one, there's only one sheet here.
No, the site
Oh.
plan, the site plan.
I don't have this. I only have this landscape plan. So,
Paul, you have the,
give me a
we-
moment here.
you sent it to us and you can see the houses on the lots. It doesn't look that, the other one on the right, Joe, looks closer to the lot line than the one on the left, but
So it might, yeah. So what I'm getting at is it might actually be twofold where it helps the traffic and it helps give distance to both houses. I just don't want to make it worse. I just don't want, if that house on the left is right against the property line and then the house on the right wasn't, then we're in a good spot. And by flipping it, you just, you know.
No, it's a good thought.
If they both have the 20-foot buffer, then it really doesn't matter. It's 50-50, I guess. So
yeah.
All right.
Okay.
that was it. I don't want to belabor the point.
No, it's a good point, though. Thank you, Joe. Dave, you
Get
have
where
your
you come
hand-
from, Joe, and I think we can get dimensions now to the existing house to the right and where it is now and see what the dimension
All right.
and the
Yeah,
distance
just it's
between.
yeah, exactly. I don't need it tonight, but that's fine. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks,
No
guys.
problem.
So, yeah,
Dave,
Mr. Chair, through you,
Yeah.
so appreciate the efforts, by the applicant, working with, Chip, on this. So I appreciate the time put into, to listen to the board, to make these changes, to try to find some green space. I think this is a nice addition. Back in the corner of the lot, it should be quieter back there. We still have enough parking per the bylaws, so that's good. And I, agree that flipping the building, to put the entrance further away from the intersection is a good idea. So if we can see that next time and then have those dimensions, just to Joe's point, just so we have that. Again, just looking at the site plan, it looks like it's a little bit better, distance wise from the abutting properties if it's on the left side than on the right. But I appreciate the effort that went into looking at this and trying to come up with something. I think it still works with the visitor parking and the additional parking and I think it's getting to where it needs to be. I think, Mr. Chair, I think we just want to hear, did we get something from TAC formally?
No,
Just EBW. Okay, so just want to hear from them because again, there were some things in their letter as well. So again, that this whole like turnaround concept is not happening, right? So I just want to make sure they're more comfortable, right, between TAC and the fire department and so forth, that they're comfortable with what we're looking at here. Maybe next time when we've got the updates to show it on the other side, show them that plan, and just get an update from them. I think we want to see that. I would want to see it. I think the other board members do too. So, but I'm comfortable with where it's headed. I just want to hear from the other parts of the town that had some concerns as well around safety.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? So, Mr. Haverty, we're gonna open it up to the public and saying that the board is done commenting. But as you well know, there won't be a next time unless you grant an extension, as this runs out on October 31st. And I'm gonna, as you consider that during public comment, going one meeting or two meetings at a time here, I'm gonna ask you to think about what it's gonna take. That I'm gonna strongly encourage you to get back to the Traffic Advisory Committee and to hear back from them. This board's definitely gonna want to hear from our public safety officials before we make a decision, because what's on record now, the only thing we have is that this project isn't safe according to their opinion in that memo. So with that, I'm going to open it up to members of the public. If there are members of the public here that wish to comment, please use the raised hand function in Zoom.
Hi, I can't seem to find the hand, but it's Paula Gardella talking.
Hi, Paula, go ahead, please. I know you've done it a lot, but if you could just provide your address for.
Yes, hi,
Correct.
I'm at 10 Wilson Road in obviously Wakefield. I appreciate all this work that you guys are all doing. I definitely agree that the green space most definitely helps. I think it would be a wonderful idea to put more trees back there in that banking area to make that area, to keep it green. That's what we need to do, because I'm imagining a lot of trees are going to come down when this building goes up. My fear is, or my concern is, I truly believe that it's still too large. Not so much large in terms of people in it, but large in terms of the way it looks in the neighborhood. It doesn't fit. It's not a single structure. They're not single structures. It's one large continuous unit. And in my opinion, it just still doesn't fit. But we've certainly come a long way. And I personally would have to still put a no vote on this if I was on the board. That's again, my humble opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. I see a hand up from Joshua and Kyla McKay.
Many things to press there. Hi, Kyla McKay Smith, 40 Nahant Street, the abutter on the right side. Thank you very much to the board and to the team for being willing to work with each other. I really like the addition of the green space. If there's any way at all to preserve those two really big trees in the back, that would be amazing. I think they're probably under the parking and that's not going to be possible, but yes, there's a lot of trees back there and that's really important with so few trees on Nahant Street themselves. I did check Google Maps. I think that our house is closer to the proposed site than the Bailey's house at number 30. We're each about a driveway away, but theirs is like a driveway and a half. I think flipping the site would definitely improve the traffic. I have seen cars coming out of the existing driveway, definitely having trouble during rush hour. We have slightly less trouble, so that might also make things better for people living there. So it is still pretty large, but thank you for being willing to work on things.
Thank you. Next, I see Victoria Turner.
Hi, Victoria Turner, 16 Wilson Road. I just want to reiterate what the people before me just said, which is we're inching along towards the right direction. Like the green space is nice, adding in trees is nice, moving the driveway further from the intersection will help. But at the end of the day, we're adding a lot of cars onto an already dangerous road. And that really concerns me. We all have trouble pulling out onto Nahant Street. really doesn't seem to matter what time of day, at least near me. So like we're adding more cars. We don't have a lot of green space. We're losing trees. It's close, but it's still too big. Thank you.
Thank you. I see hand up, Wei-John Lee.
Yeah, this is Wang Junyi from 35 Nahan Street, right across the street. So I sorry I didn't follow the site plan. So it was originally 24 units or 22 units.
No, it was actually originally over 30 units.
Yeah, and
It was 32 units originally.
and then it was reduced to 20 something, if I recall correctly. But now it's 22, so it doesn't looks like there's there's any significant reduce. So from from the density perspective, I don't see any improvement at all. To me, it's still a big concern to the public safety and adding those quite a large amount of cars to the neighborhoods, and it's definitely a significant impact to when I pulling out of my car and when I go home. So I still think this is safety is a big concern, especially there's only on-site parking and there's no way to do the off-street parking on a house street. So I would say it's still it's a no for me, and it's still a density. It's due to it's a large concern. But I appreciate all the efforts that they put on this plan, all the landscape. I like that. But I will hear more comments from the TAC regarding the public safety. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And as you heard that we're asking the applicant to go back before the TAC with the changes so that the town's public safety experts can review what's been changed in the amendments to their proposal. So, anybody else? Ellen Cummings, I'm seeing.
Yeah, hi, 239 Nahan Street. I agree, it does look a lot better, and that flipping the driveway would be better since it'd be further from the intersection. But my concern is that it's still too large, especially in conjunction with what you're considering putting down at Precision Homing. So, I mean, it's just two big developments on a very narrow street that's already super congested. So yeah, it looks better, but I just feel like with the two big projects, it's just still too much. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Public comment going once, twice. And I'm not seeing anyone else, so back to the board. As board members heard, right now, this expires on October 31st, so I've asked, during public comment for Mr. Haverty to consider that. I've asked them to go back to TAC so we can formally hear from our folks on this. Is there any other comments or questions folks have about this?
None.
Okay. And Chip, thank you for your efforts in extra time. So,
But Tom, if I read you right now, we're October 23rd, we don't have another meeting before the 31st.
right.
So that means we'd have to vote tonight.
Correct.
So I would hope that Mr. Haverty and Mr. Green would take a few seconds and figure out the extension, because we haven't gone through waivers. We're nowhere near ready to vote on this. Yeah, unless
why I
we
made
were
the comment
forced,
you did.
unless we were forced to tonight.
Doing one meeting at a time isn't doing it for me right now.
No,
Because I'm not sure TAC's schedule, because they've got to examine it. Apparently, they've taken an initial look. They've seen the original traffic study, so I don't think it's, where this is a reduction, I don't see it as a major effort, but they still have to look at it and issue something to us in writing. So that's gonna take some time. And I don't think they're gonna have it by November 20th, if I had to guess. So I'm going to suggest that you extend it through the end of the year. It's only 2 meetings because we have 1 meeting in November and 1 meeting in December, but I'll throw that back to the applicant and see what they think.
Mr. Chair. So in the first case, we just tonight presented you, not even with a plan, but with a concept of flipping the building. So I do think it's fair that before we ask you to take any action on that we actually present you with a plan showing it and that you have that opportunity to review it. So a continuation to November 30th to allow you to have the meeting on the 20th and then, leaving you that safety availability, is certainly something that we would be willing to do. In terms of continuing to the end of the year, I haven't had the opportunity to discuss that with my client. I think we would prefer to just move forward with the continuance to November 30th and see if we can get information to the Traffic Advisory Committee, get a meeting with them, and get it all done before the 20th, recognizing that's a pretty tight time frame and we may not be able to. And if we can't, then we would be willing to grant another extension, at the November 20th meeting.
Sounds good.
I did also just want to point out, and it's something, for the wary to avoid. You are not required to vote on the application the night that you close the public hearing. You have 40 days from when you close the public hearing to deliberate and render a decision. And there's case law on this issue. Rendering a decision actually just means taking a vote. Once you take the vote, you have 14 days to file your written decision with the town clerk. So if you take the vote the night you close the hearing, you're taking away your 40-day period and you're only giving yourself 14 days. So I just wanted to make sure that the board was aware of that.
We're aware of it, but I mean, at this point, I'm just trying to be realistic with timetables. And you're asking neighbors to come out every 2 weeks to look at this, and it's been a year. And I know folks in the neighborhood are weary of showing up every couple of weeks and trying to, figure out where this thing's gonna land. And as board members, we signed up for it, so I'm not looking for any sympathy for the board. You guys are getting paid for it, but the neighbors, this has been a long haul for them. And if there's going to be no real presentations or actions because it takes some time, I don't want to keep hauling them out every second Wednesday night. So I do want to be fair to them.
and the other issue I would ask, Mr. Chair, and maybe you have a feel for it, but I mean, we haven't even talked about waivers and the procedural stuff that goes along with the conceptual.
That's the stuff we usually handle in the time period that Mr. Haverty
Right.
referenced after we close out the public hearing.
Right.
So-
O&M, draft conditions, waivers, that's like belt and suspenders at the end, wrapping it up. When we think we're there, right? When we think we're close to having something, but right. And that takes some discussion, right? They usually send drafts of that or we draft something, however it works out, but that takes time too. So,
Yep.
But again, I thought Chip, that's a good point. I was also going to raise, again, what happens if something happens on the 20th and we get a snowstorm? Now we're only continued. Now we got to have a special meeting and rush something to have a continuance and extension. And it's Thanksgiving.
During the week of
That's the risk
Thanksgiving.
of only going one
Yeah, I
meeting.
mean, I think
one
Tom,
week past our next meeting is what happens if something happens to that meeting. So
yeah, I think Tom laid out the case pretty well as chair to suggest that he would prefer if they went out further. They chose not to. I guess that's their their risk reward type of thing.
Yeah, it's just,
Just trying to be
I don't see,
realistic.
I just don't see the harm in going out farther. And
Would it,
we're not ever not willing to meet or to discuss or to talk about. I don't get what the hesitation for an extension is. I don't get it. We don't need it.
Mr.
We
Chairman,
don't.
through you, this is an expensive process. You have carrying costs associated with continuing to own the property without doing anything of any value with it. It's not something that is, without financial harm to my client. The sooner you get these things closed, the better it is as an applicant. That being said, I've had the opportunity to text with my client as we've been speaking, and he has agreed that he would continue it until December 31st.
That'd be great.
So I can get you a written continuance tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Green.
thank you. By the way, Chip, that was very, that helped a lot. You helped a lot in the last meeting, giving ideas on the landscape and everything. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, board, why don't we move to continue to the 20th of November, and we'll expect a letter from Mr. Haverty in the morning.
all right, fair enough, Mr. Chair. I move that we continue this matter at 32 Nahant Street to our November 20th, 24 meeting, and accept the applicant's request to extend the time for this board to hold the public hearing to December 31st, 2024, with a letter from Mr. Haverty that we will file and clock in tomorrow.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing, seeing none, regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mickey,
Yes.
I vote yes. All right, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate the work that you've done. Appreciate your patience with the board, and we'll see you in November.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, moving on. Cases 25-3, 25-4, 25-5, 33 West Water Street LLC. See Mr. McGrail on the call.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, Attorney Brian McGrail for the applicant, 33 West Water Street LLC. With me tonight is Marvin St. Jean on behalf of the ownership group. John Ogren is here from Hayes Engineering, and Andrew Jones and Peter Sandors and Steve Fury are here, all here from Phoenix Architects, but I think Andrew will be handling this matter on their behalf. Since we last met on this project, the board has received a memo from the Traffic Advisory Committee. I think it was given to you a couple of weeks ago at least, and they, as you saw, or as I'm sure you've reviewed, have no issues with this project as far as impacts, site distances, etc. And they are looking for a mitigation contribution, I think of $5,000, which is acceptable to my client. So I think we're done from the TAC perspective. You also may recall that Mr. Tarbell was the appointed designated board member to work with us on a couple of issues of focus. The first is to try to increase some open space on the site. And the second is to try to create some separation in the rear from the abutting property owners as far as setbacks go. And we have had a meeting with Chip. We really vetted some ideas on this. Met for a while. A lot of good suggestions by Chip and by our team, I think, in kind of working through this. And I'm sure Chip will speak for himself on this, but one of the discussions was with a building like this, in its proximity to the train station in downtown, is the number of parking spaces that we're providing really necessary? And Chip came up with the idea that maybe lose a little bit of parking and create some open space because of the location of the building. My client agrees with that and is willing to do that if that's a direction the board wants to go. But, you know, certainly, after you hear from Chip, we need some feedback on that. What we did is we submitted on Friday a conceptual plan of how we could create some open area on the site by losing just one parking space. So we will go down to 14 instead of the 16 that we have. And I think probably the best bet is, John, if you could, if it's okay, if Mr. Ogren can share his screen, share his plan on the screen, he can show the original site plan and then compare that to what we discussed with Chip on some ideas.
Brian, I'm not questioning your math.
Yeah,
But you said we were reducing the parking spaces one space from 16 to 14.
you're right. Yeah, I was just gonna correct myself. Math is always not.
God, Walton School never did you well, did it?
No. Thank you.
Yeah, so what's on the screen now is the originally submitted site plan. And essentially what we looked at was how do we get open space? And we kind of focused on these 4 parking spaces to the rear. So what we looked at was what happens if we eliminate. In this case, what we did was we eliminated one of those spaces along the rear and slid the building.
John, can you go back to that first plan? I just want to make a real quick point.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. So that, I just want to point out in the rear right corner, there is open space here. And Chip pointed, you know, we pointed that out to Chip and said, you know, look, we've got some open space here. And Chip, you know, basically said, you know, it's not usable open space because people don't want to get there, have to walk across the parking lot. So he wasn't excited about that as kind of looking at as usable open space. So that kind of sets the table, John, for what we did. If you could go on.
Right, so what we did was eliminate one of those 4 spaces in the rear and we slid the building to the right. So what we have here now, instead of the 4, we have 3 parking spaces. The building has been shifted essentially a parking space width. That has opened up the left side of the building for some more green area. And we were looking at the way the building lays out that we could propose some usable open space, essentially a patio located in the front portion of this open space. Didn't want to go too much further back because just to remind you, there is a unit on this lower level, and obviously we don't want to put people right outside the window. So, I mean, we talked about a couple of different options, maybe losing additional parking spaces, but kind of felt like this was a good compromise. We weren't losing as many parking, we weren't losing a ton of parking, but we were giving some outside amenities to the people that are renting here.
And also giving a little bit of a buffer on that side.
And how do tenants access that patio? Is it from within the building or just on the outside or both?
There's this, and Andrew, if I'm wrong, let me know. There's a stairwell here, and then it looked like we could incorporate a hallway, so they could access with the doorway right in this area out to the
Yeah.
patio.
Andrew, can you confirm that? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. So the plans that we have don't correlate that yet, but we talked about it and we can definitely, if you want, I can pull up the architectural and kind of show where we were thinking about running that hallway, but it's
Yeah,
definitely
why don't you do that?
possible.
That'd be great.
So there's plenty of space we can look at. Either one option is right off the stairwell, having another door here. But we think that there's enough room and we can kind of play around with the amount of room in the hallway to kind of get a 4-foot hallway that leads you through and out and just adjust the that one unit down there. But we're pretty confident we can make that work if this is a direction we do want to head in.
So let me jump in if I can.
John, can you put your plan up?
Yeah, stop sharing.
So we definitely had a lively discussion about green space versus parking, about being close to the T. I actually suggested that we go down to one parking space per unit and just put a lease restriction that people can only have one car. And if they choose to have on site, and if they choose to have two, then they've got to find a place for the second car. And there's a ton of optional parking around, some that may get called out on, some that may not. I mean, you've got the junior high, you have the MBTA spaces. And I think this is a building that would specifically kind of lend to that and even create more open space. And then, but Brian, we still, even with reducing what we did, you're still talking about having something in the lease restricting how many cars they can have, right?
Yeah, we can
Because
work that out.
we
Yep.
don't meet, that I think is a critical piece that we talked about. So that we're not talking about, even though we don't think it happens ever, but that there wouldn't be more cars than there would be spaces for tenants. Or if there are, they wouldn't be allowed to be on site. So I don't know. I throw it out to everybody to think about that, because it seems to be that we keep coming back to parking, size of the project, green space. And here I think and I'm certainly a parking space advocate, but I just don't know, I just don't know if the demographic of the person renting needs two spaces for a one bedroom. I think there's a lot of people doing a lot of different things now. So that was the lively discussion, and shifting the building got us farther away from the house on the left, and did some, I think, pretty good things from the site perspective. So that was kind of the historical perspective of how we got here. But I'd love to hear what others think.
Okay, in that vein, Greg, I see your hand up.
Thanks. Yeah, I do want to second what Chip's saying. So I think the proposed patio is great. Adding in a space there, and then I started thinking about that neighbor. So was going to ask if a fence would be provided there, or some sort of privacy provided, and then started thinking 12-foot wide with a 6-foot fence right there might get tight pretty quick. So did like what Chip said about maybe looking for an opportunity for a little more space, but just kind of leave that up to you guys as part of the design.
Okay, thank you. Kasumi?
I see that nice proposed patio, but now I'm concerned I probably should wait till after I see the architecture, but I think the second floor unit in the middle on the back is right outside of the house on the behind where the stair is. So before the building was on the left side, it was like the egress stair on the house behind was like half on one unit and the other half on the other unit. But now I think one of the unit directly looking into the stair, both the living room and the bedroom, that little bit concerns me, especially after looking at the architecture, the elevation, how close that house and the stair is. I don't know if you are planning to do like looking at those and reshuffle layout inside a little bit, maybe. But I do agree, like adding the patio and shifting a little bit makes sense, like giving more outdoor space for the tenant. So I'm a little torn.
Andrew, do you have an answer for that? How it impacts the second floor unit in the back there?
So
So
that Andrew, with that said, it kind of parlays into maybe you can show what we've done with the building in the back. And that, and
Absolutely.
what we've done with the building in the back does not address Kasumi's concerns with the windows. That's something else we would have to look at, but we've taken some steps to mitigate some of the separation issues that the board had raised in the back.
Yep, thanks, Brian. Do you guys want me to proceed with
Yeah,
the updates?
Unless, if you can put a hold on right there, Dave, did you have something relevant or you want to wait and see this and then ask your question?
I'll wait till I see the architectural update.
Okay. Please proceed then, Andrew.
Okay, I'm just gonna jump right into the biggest adjustment and what we added to this packet, which was looking at a context study of the rear building and kind of the setbacks within it, and any sort of adjustment we could do to further the distance. So what you're seeing here is the property in the back. This is what we're looking at. And then this was the prior proposal, which shows that we're about 8 feet from where we had like a box bay coming out in the back and about 8.5 feet from the actual exterior of the building over. And then, so what we looked at doing was actually on the second and third floor, sealing it in 2 feet. So what you're seeing is this roof overhang that was coming wrapping around as a skirt is now actually part of the roof line, the parking garage below. And so what we did was we took like a foot out from the hallway and also a foot out from the units in the back. And so what that gives us now is like a 10.5 foot buffer. We also lost the box bays in the back because we just thought that, you know, every inch counts here and weren't really needed for the units. So jump into just floor plan so you can kind of see how that laid out. Before we had a 5-foot hallway down to 4 feet. And then also I believe actually we ended up shaving a foot from the units in the front. So these units all stay the same. It was more just a square footage game as they're tighter units as they are. Just making sure that they all function and work and the bedrooms are the proper size we'd like. But to answer your question, Kazumi, I don't know exactly with the shift what windows are. I think we can start to overlay the site and the architectural, like a second floor plan, and exactly see where they do touch with the shift and without.
Okay, I think
One
because
thing
I
I
think
do want to bring up too is that when I was taking photos and drawing this is really, the living area of the house is beyond. It actually starts here. Could it be converted in the future? Potentially. Right now, it's basically like a 3-season porch that's just been converted. So, bicycles and kids' toys and boxes and trash and all that kind of stuff is what's sitting back there. It's not, a living room or a bedroom in this area right here. Just so you guys understand, but obviously that's subject to change. So.
I think shaving a little bit of like giving more 10 feet vibe now, it feels a little bit better to the back house. But as you said, if that's a 3-season porch and if the tenant ever changes, I can see that room being used a lot of the time. And I still think the unit 3 is right, like especially the living room is right looking into that the 3-season porch. So if you can kind of like put it in a site plan and see what exactly the window is and just take a look at it. The living room window maybe not so bad, but I'll definitely just consider where the bedroom window is. Give a little more privacy.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think we could definitely do that for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, Dave, you had your hand raised before.
Yes. Can we put up the site plan again? This is really where my comments stem from, sort of following on what Chip was saying. So, yeah, as you know, Mr. Chair, I'm also a proponent on the parking. I always bring that up. And when you look at this, so losing a different space, another space to give more patio space and more buffer on that side. Now you lose the aisle width, right? You're at 24 feet right now. So you take off another space, but you lose the aisle width, right? It's not required minimum, right, to 24. So I just don't know if that works. Like, if we make it 11 chip, I hear what you're saying, one per unit, even the 2 bedrooms, right? They just deed it that way. But then what does the building do, right? Because you still need an aisle for the parking that is there. So I don't know. You'd have to look at it. We're not going to design it here, Andrew, and see how it works. But just another thought, having just heard it on the previous project. Have you thought about flipping the building on the other side of the lot? Because on the right side is a huge parking lot. And I don't know what it does with the other building that's in the back, abuts this in the back, but there's a huge parking lot over on the other side. So put the building up closer to that and shift the parking to the other side of the lot and maybe play with the green space or the patio a little bit. I don't know. Just a thought, having just heard it on the previous project. Whether that, that puts the driveway potentially closer to the intersection, but we're talking a much smaller building here. Just food for thought. But again, I just don't know if losing more parking, what that does to the site and the drive aisle width and all of that. Even though, it'd be nice to have more open space. But anyway, just my comments right now, Mr. Chair, based on what I'm hearing and seeing. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other board
I believe
members?
the aisle widths are still 24 feet. As far as the building shift in the back, that was only the second and third floor, the parking garage maintained. So,
Yeah, no, if you shifted that, if you just shifted that, if you lost one more space in that back, that 3 spaces, and
Yeah.
shifted the building, lost another space,
oh, okay, that's what you're saying.
24 aisle width, in the front, the building's pretty much eating into that 24. I just don't know if the dimensions work. And you still got turn space and those spaces on the side. So I just don't know if it works losing another space or 2 to get more space on the left side for that patio. Make it a little bit bigger,
Yeah. Yep.
So fire pit, chairs, right? Make it a little bit bigger than the 12 feet. But again, just throwing it out there, but again, contemplating shifting the whole building to the right side, putting the parking on the left. Again, I just food for thought, because there's, the abutter on that side is a big parking lot and it gets it away from the abutter on the left, privacy concerns, the fence, the patio, maybe it's on the other side now. So just something to think about. That's all. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Dave, just back to your comment about one more space doesn't help. It's whether you can move all the spaces you need to along the back so that your driveway comes right in on the right-hand side. And that gains you like 20 feet.
Okay.
So that you take that whole corner that's wasted now, and that all becomes parking, and you come up basically in turn where the parking spaces are.
Okay.
So you have to have it be really significant, you need to go down to 11. And when we were talking about it in a working group, they weren't ready to reduce it by that much.
Okay. All right. So you were contemplating these things, you were discussing. That's good. I just hearing what was done and
Yeah, and they
what else
came
could
back
be
and
done.
said,
And
they came back after I had suggested that
yeah.
and said, well, we're really more comfortable with just reducing it by 1.
Mhm.
So 1 still keeps you aisle width. To reduce it more would be eliminating that whole right side of parking, putting it to the back and significantly changing things. So anyway, that's they wanted to stay with 1, and I'm still happy with, hadn't looked at shifting it or swapping it or flipping it, however you want to call it. And that may make sense, but I think we're starting to get some more space around it.
Right. Well, just to complete the thought without belaboring it, you flip it and then the parking's on the other side and that patio now abuts that back corner. But again, how it all works with driveways and where the parking ends up at that point. But again, you've already got that corner. Does that become pavement Or could some of that stay and it combines with a patio and now you got some space somewhere on that side, but the building's on that side. So anyway, just don't know if you've already been playing with this, Andrew and team. And this is where we've settled that, you know, is the best fit to make it work. But if there's other things that can be done, I just would love to hear them. That's all.
If I could just point out on one thing about flipping it, which I did kind of briefly look at. There are some mature trees along this property line. And one thing with flipping it is that's going to put the building right up or fairly close to that would cause, you know, we definitely would have to do some trimming on that. So that's just another thing to think about.
Mm. Yeah, we wouldn't want to lose or damage those. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually had a conversation with that abutter who's very friendly to the project, but his big concern was not losing the trees.
No, agreed there. Okay, just
Okay. Thank you, Dave. Mickey? Mickey, you're muted.
When you were showing the back of the project, it appeared that there was a large tree penciled in the front of the project. Where's that located?
Was this the architectural?
Yeah, from the back.
Yeah, it might not actually be a tree there. It could have been just hold on real quick. I'll pull it up just so you can see it and I'll confirm or deny it. Yeah, there's no tree right there. We'll make sure to
No,
remove it.
the one that comes over the top.
Yeah, this is all just placeholder, making it more graphic. It does not relate to the site plan at all.
Try not to do that.
We'll take it off.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, hearing, seeing none at this point, I'm going to open it up to members of the public. If there's a member of the public here that wishes to testify regarding this application, please use the raised hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, going once, twice, three times. Closing public comment for the evening. Back to the board, pleasure of the board.
I assume continue the next meeting. Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of, I guess, looking for a little bit of direction on the board if you know, where you stand on this issue. Because we don't know where to go with Chip any further. And I think Chip, don't we kind of want a little bit of kind of input from the board on where we should go with this on parking versus open space?
Chip, you're on mute.
Why wouldn't I be? There's a lot of people that wish they could do that to me on a daily basis. If I can summarize where I think the board is, I think they're probably okay with the current parking, doing something restricting the amount so that we don't over park or have more cars than we can. I think you guys have answered whether we can flip the building, and with trees and everything else, it doesn't sound like we can. So it sounds like we're kind of there, other than looking at rear windows and how they look down onto the other site and some dotting of I's and crossing of T's. Am I wrong, board members?
No, I
That's
just
where
think we need to see
yeah.
the updated architecturals. So that show the patio, that show access to it. So we'll need updated architecturals. But I think you've summarized it well. I just was throwing out ideas and it sounds like they've been contemplated. So I'm okay. I just want to see the updated.
Well, yeah,
Everything
obviously.
ties together
but,
next time.
But what Brian was asking for is he finalizing these, or is he changing something? So I think the answer to his question is we're finalizing these and just dotting the I's and crossing the T's and formalizing them, is what I heard.
Yeah, and to Kasumi's question, how the windows match up on the back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Like to
and
see
making it,
them.
some sightline issues and who's looking down on what and where and how. But does that answer your question, Brian?
yeah, I'm not looking, we're just want to make sure that kind of this footprint is what we should be trying to fine tune at this point to satisfy the board, and recognizing Kasumi's issue and not, we need to deal with that and we will. But just that, I just don't want to go through that avenue and then come back and say, put it back and put the parking space back. That is right, Chip.
Brian, am I correct in saying that we asked last time that you meet with that neighbor in the back or try to? Has anybody spoken with them?
No, I'm not to get in touch with them. My suggestion on that is, respectfully suggest that if the board wants to send another notice to them.
I think, Mickey, what we determined is that it's not an owner occupied property. It's an investment property. It's a rented property. And that they've been notified, and
all right.
I'm comfortable that, and if you actually went there and looked at how the property was kept.
Yeah, no, I've seen.
I'll leave it at that with it being recorded.
And for my concerns, maybe next time either you can show the second floor plan with the site plan, or in the architectural plan, you can show the stairs on the back of the house, either one of those, so we can actually see where that stairs is relative to the back unit.
Yeah, I think the first one's the best, will be the most accurate, and what we'll do is we'll overlay the second floor onto the site plan. And
Okay.
and maybe draw some, dark lines that show where the windows align and where they hit on the rear building, so should actually be, easy enough.
Do you have do you check on like how many windows, or like where the windows are on the 3-season porch on the back of the house? Kind of like a ballpark.
We can, yeah, I'll play with it. Once again, it won't be 100% accurate, but
Yeah,
I'll do my
yeah.
best to portray what's there.
Yeah. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, there's your direction, Mr. McGrail, for your development team. Anything else, board members, other than the
Have
continuance to
we,
the
Andrew, have we seen all materials and everything? Have we seen a material sheet yet?
Yeah, yep, they're up there. They've always been there.
Okay.
I'm happy
I just
to.
can't remember. No,
Yep.
we don't need to go over it again now if they're there.
Okay.
Have you got all the lighting on there?
Nope, but we can do that. Most of it's gonna be built under the skirt. It's gonna be recessed.
Yeah, and how the lighting's gonna operate underneath the building and all that fun stuff.
Sounds good.
Patio, etc., whatever the lighting is. Yes.
What does the board think about a fence on that side? That Greg had mentioned, where the patio is between that property. I would assume something needs to be there.
Yeah, I would think at least 6, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I think Greg's concern and mine as well is you put a 6-foot fence there. That 12 feet becomes pretty tight pretty quickly. I think something has to go there.
Yeah, how about some plantings?
It might be a row of abrevieties, as much as I hate them, or something that's a little less obtrusive than a solid fence.
Or
maybe become creative.
Or a wall with some plantings on it, of 3 foot. I don't know. Yeah, there could be other things there.
Yeah, can I just point out, I did show it as a 12-foot wide patio, but from the building to the property line, it's 15. And I was anticipating that, potentially we would put a fence and then maybe some plantings in that 3 feet. So it could either increase the size of the patio, or we could keep it as it is and we have some room to put some plantings and a fence.
And maybe
I'm
we don't,
looking,
maybe we don't need a fence.
Maybe
I'm
she's
looking at
planting.
I'm looking at the Google map and I see like there's like 3 or 4 big trees in between those houses. I don't know if they're on this side of the property or like the neighbor property. Like it's right on the
I
line.
think, I think that is old, though. I believe those trees are no longer there.
Oh, okay.
All right, so rather than try to solve it here, why don't you guys think about it and think about a treatment for that?
Yeah,
You've
we'll
heard
talk.
that we want some screening there. Think about a combination of fence and or plantings or a wall, whatever.
Okay,
And Brian, this might be one of those cases where a site visit regarding landscaping and what trees are gonna be kept and not kept would be important, particularly where you've made promises to a neighbor.
mhm.
And what's reality and what's not. So I would suggest as either whoever you're using for landscaping can do a real assessment, or a site visit would be worthwhile. And I'd be happy to do that with the team.
Okay,
Cause I don't think we wanna say, oh, all the big trees are gonna stay.
yeah,
Not memorialize it, and then,
Yeah.
oh, by the way, when we started putting the foundation in, they all came down.
yeah. I think, John, we're gonna have to get James Emmanuel involved on just kind of what the landscaping is gonna be on that side, what's gonna survive, what the sun is over there, et cetera. We're not qualified. So we understand. Thank you.
Okay,
You know, and
anything else?
if you, I would just say, and I'm happy to keep working with you, Brian, but I'd love to see, you know, a pergola, benches, something creative on that patio rather than just pavers and let people have at it. So I'd like to take it another step. If we're gonna have green space, let's figure out what it's gonna be, what it's gonna look like, and really enhance it. And those are short dollars to the project.
Understood.
Also, Brian, I guess if we're nitpicking, where is, everything's gonna be electrified, where's all that equipment going? If you could just bring a representation of when you're doing all
John,
Chip's work, we could see all that as we sounds like this is getting towards the finish line. So I think we want to start to see final details that we generally want to see, transformers.
I think we're gonna work off the pole, right, John?
Yeah, my discussions with the light department was that they could service it off of the pole
Okay.
with a
We'll confirm
transformer.
that though. Yeah, we don't have it. We'll confirm that. Thanks for bringing
I
it.
was gonna say, until they tell you, oh, no.
Yeah.
We got it by the left side of the front door, we need to put a box.
Understood. Thank you. We'll formalize that too.
Okay, anything else, board members? All right, looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we continue this matter at 33 West Water Street to our November 20th, 2024 hearing.
I would just ask the whether that's enough time, Brian, to do what we've asked you to do.
I think so. We'd like to try it because it's a month out. So
Okay.
All right, Joe, you were about to second.
Seconded.
Okay,
Now
motion's
Chip
been
wants to discuss it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing, seeing none, regular voting board members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mickey,
Yes.
and I vote yes. We'll see you on the 20th.
thank you.
Moving down. Thank you. Moving down the agenda, other matters. First up, 200 Corner Poway. discuss signage and status update on project.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Attorney Brian McGrail for the applicant. And with me tonight from Cabot Cabinet Forbes is Marissa Gallo. And what we wanted to accomplish tonight with the board is the board had requested, we would like to start by Marissa giving a status update on the project on the long-awaited mock-up building. So Joe can finally take a look at it. We'd also like to present some signage for approval, because that's a condition of your project. And mainly the signage is not like for the restaurant, it's more directional sign and building numbering sign, which they need to get on order, which we'll do when Marissa's done with the update. And then we want to talk to you about some signage that we're not looking for approval, but we want to put on your radar and get some initial feedback so we can plan adequately to come back on that. And that's really dealing with marketing sign on the rentals, and a couple of items like that, you know, that would be temporary signs. We you know, where you see these banners on the highway, et cetera. We want to start having a discussion with you on that, and what you would think would be reasonable as far as the project is concerned. And then lastly, we want to go over and hopefully get an approval on the community area. That is a requirement, as you're well aware, for the public to have an area in the building, which was specified during the approval process. We've really kind of fine-tuned that, and we'd like to have a discussion on you with that. So with that said, Mr. Chair, if I could hand it over to Marissa to give the board an update on the project as a whole.
Sure, please do.
Thank you, Brian. Hi, I'm Marissa from Cabot Cabinet Forbes. So quick project update. Over the last few months, we've made really great progress over on the North Ave side of the project. Our first building, we've completed framing and roofing at that building, and windows have been installed. Right now, we're working on MEP rough-in and doing some initial drywall and finishes in that building, which is on the closest side to Lake Quannapowitt. Our next building, building 3, which is our largest building closest to 95. We're about a little bit close to halfway done with our wood framing on that building. I would say we are close to at least 50% framed there. And then they are starting mechanicals on the areas that are framed. The precast garage is completed, and they are continuing to finish up the MEP underground and then pouring the final slab of that larger building towards the end of this month. So in a couple weeks, they will be able to start completing the remaining areas of that building for the framing. Our last building, which is on the Lowell Street side of the site, which we are still working on foundations. We are close with half of that building to start pouring the slab at the beginning of November. And then the second portion of that building will follow the beginning of December for that slab pour. So we're hoping to overall have both portions of that building with wood framing underway by January. So that is a quick update on the building progress. And then as Brian had mentioned, we are close to completing our exterior mock-up. So we are going to request through Brian that we have someone come out on site the beginning of or during the week of November 4th. So not next week, but the week after. We'll be ready to have someone come out and take a look at that. And then we'll also have some landscaping materials as well for review at that time.
What's your schedule for putting building, I'll call it 1A, whatever, online?
Yep, so we are looking at Q3 of 2025 for our first phase to be completed. And then our last phase, I guess, so Q3, beginning of Q3 of 2026. So that would be our last building. That would be the completion for that portion of the site.
And what's your position with the company?
Senior project manager.
Okay.
Thanks.
First, I have a question on the mock-up panel. Is there a set of drawings for that?
There is, yes.
yeah.
It's included in the construction set of drawings that was submitted, but I can also send you just the few sheets if that is easier for you.
Yeah, if you can
we can send that
send
over.
it through. Yeah, if you can send it to Brian or however you
Yep.
want to do that.
Yeah, we can get those over to you this week.
Thank you.
Yep.
And just out of curiosity, with occupancy not happening till Q3 of 2025, what's the rush on approving signage tonight?
Just the procurement. So for our first phase of signage, we would likely be installing that summer of 2025. So just getting this through, obviously, the review and approval process will allow us to start procuring that signage. There's about, I would say, a 2.5 to 3 month lead time for procurement of that. And then we are still working through like another month, say, of like location plans, budgeting things with that vendor. So we'd like to get that reviewed and approved now so we can start that timeline and make sure that we have it on site when we need to start installing summer of 2025.
So this is wayfinding signage?
Yes. Yep. So the general, I guess, bulk of the package that we're going to be showing you today is vehicular and then as well as pedestrian wayfinding signage throughout the site. And then we also have the aluminum building numbering signage that we'll have at each location entryway for the building, as well as additional locations on the building that make it easier for the fire department and emergency vehicles to be able to identify where they are on the site. So that's the bulk of it. And then there are additional parking signs, so handicap signage, EV parking signage that will be located on site that we have in the plan as well.
So do you anticipate that this is going to be part of, there's some branding that you're going to continue, from this signage and extend it onto the last? So should we be looking at it through that lens?
You mean like branding for the building? Yes. So we do have the exterior wayfinding signage, I would say, is the bulk of the signage that we are trying to kind of work into our branding, I would say. So I guess the branding of the building is mostly like to do with like nature, as you're close to the lake and trying to kind of incorporate those types of things. So we are looking at using mostly aluminum types of material, but giving it that like fake wood look, I would say. Not fake, but it gives it like a wood look, I guess, without using wood. So it's brown tones, things like that, just incorporating into what we have as like our FF&E package for the building, trying to make everything kind of look the same, similar with our monument sign, which is also included in this package, which was shown on the construction set of drawings as well, like the location when it was submitted. So that is also tying into our branding as well. Just trying to give like everything a consistent look throughout the site.
So Mr. Chairman, I know we got the site package. I was not aware they were looking for a vote for approval tonight. I by no way am ready to approve that tonight. I haven't spent barely enough time on it, nor do I want to spend tonight going through it in that much detail. I thought this was just a conversation about signage. Just FYI.
Yeah, and that's fine,
Okay.
Marissa. I mean, we've got a little time.
You got a lot of time.
Yeah, we've got time. So we're not looking to, but perhaps we
Well,
can.
you did say you were looking for a vote.
Well, I did, because we are, but we're certainly not looking to, put the, we don't want to put the board or have the board, not that you would allow us to anyways, but we don't want you in an uncomfortable position on that.
Oh, don't worry, I won't be.
Yeah, so, and with what you said, I don't think we're gonna get it anyways, but it would be nice to get it, as Marissa said, and if we can't, we can be back, maybe have a general conversation to get some feedback tonight and be back on the meeting in November to maybe hopefully get a vote at that point.
I think
Yeah,
that's
it sounded like from the lead time that Marissa laid out that we could take another meeting and still not do damage or cause financial harm. So, but to that, Chip, I think we should go at least take a look at it so people can
Oh,
get.
no, I'm happy to look at it, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Questions, and a lot of your,
sorry.
yeah, a lot of your questions, Mr. Chairman, of what is it? Are we doing wood tones to that? the presentation level. And then we can get on whether there's too much or too little based on how many lefts they need to take to get to the parking garage.
No, and I agree. That's why I asked the question I did. If we're setting a quote, a tone here, that things are going to be built off this, I kind of want to know and the board members should know that once we set the precedent of these signs, they're going to build off this. So it's not just your average wayfinding sign, say this is garage this way. So that's all.
That's
Any
it.
other?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm ready, willing, able to share the signage if the time's appropriate, but I didn't mean to interrupt.
I just wanted to see if other board members had any questions or comments before we did that.
I would agree. Let's go through it, but let's reserve any votes till the next time. I think we'll be better prepared to do it then, especially if there's any feedback for them and some
Yep.
updates that we see next time. So. And they also want to talk about the walkway too, right? The public space. So.
It's actually the indoor public.
You were
space.
anticipating a vote on that or just sharing with what the current thinking and design is, right?
Yeah, we can do the same thing with that, you know, and maybe take care of everything at once.
Okay. Sounds good
And
to
try
me.
to remember, the only reminder, you know, we get the materials on Friday, which we appreciate, but we approved this project a long time ago, so it is good to just reset. You know, we've had a lot of projects between now and then, and so it's good to kind of hit a reset here and to see it once before we take a vote, I think it is a good idea. So with that, Brian, I think let's at least take a look at the signs. We'll start there and
Great, so this is coming in from North Ave. The restaurant is here, just to orient you.
Do we know what the restaurant is yet?
Marissa?
We do not. We are still trying to find a tenant for the restaurant, but we will provide an update if we do have a tenant in the future.
Is our economic and business development director involved, Erin?
Oh,
She is. We've had a couple conversations with Erin.
Okay.
So we will keep you all in the loop. I know everyone's very eager to hear who's going to be the new tenant. So
Yeah, Erin's been great.
the-
We have a meeting coming up with her again, so.
The other question I have for you is there a paper copy of this signage proposal somewhere?
No, but there can be. Would you like? it?
I can't do it on my computer, Brian.
Yep,
I'm gonna
Yep.
need a copy to be able to flip pages and.
that's fine.
really-
Well, there might be some
really look
revisions,
at it.
Skip, there might be some revisions after, you know, so any initial feedback that you know, if you see something you don't like, we, you know, right out of the gate, we'd like to know tonight so we can make some adjustments, but we will get you paper plans.
Cause there's a lot. I tried to see all the minutia on these and it was almost impossible.
Well, what we've done is I've had Marissa separate it into two categories, and what I'm gonna show now is what they're looking for approval when the board's ready to do that. These are kind of priority signs, and then the next package I'm gonna show is just we want some feedback and discussion on the temporary signage and potential signage for the location of the restaurant. Because that's something that's kind of come up with some of the potential tenants for the restaurants. They want to kind of know what they might be looking at for availability of signage. So, and again, just a general discussion on that, but what we need approval on when the board is ready, perhaps at the next meeting, is what I'm going to go through today, and was submitted, or tonight. And this is the key plan, which we'll maybe refer back to a little bit. We've kind of put the key plan on some of the important plans so we don't have to come back. But this is the first sign. The branding is the basin with the address. And as Marissa said, it's uplit with some lights. And this is a fabricated aluminum cabinet with painted acrylic. For basically being able to withstand the test of time. And I'm gonna.
So is this your monument sign per se?
Yeah, so this is
Yes.
location E01.1, which I'll show you. So that is right here, Chip, as you come in from North Ave.
So my first question is, there's only one? What's going on the Main Street side?
We've got to deal with that. We're going to, I think we're gonna have to push the town council because we might need some signage off-site.
Have it out
Because
further out,
further
outside?
up the road, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay,
it's
that
similar
was
to
the
what
first
happened.
observation I had with the.
Yeah, it's a good point, Dave, and that's why, and so that, we're gonna be talking to the town administrator and Aaron on that. It's similar to what Market Street had to do with their project in Linfield. Because it is important to be able to guide people in and out. So, but that's, not, you're gonna have say on that, but I think other boards might have say on that too. So we just kind of left that out because we didn't want to show a sign on public property tonight. We didn't think that would be a good idea. So that's where that sign would be in this area. Approximately 7 feet tall and just over 4 feet wide. So not an extremely large sign. Then moving on, these are what they're thinking about for the numbering on the building, various locations. Just a painted standard aluminum letter, no lighting. And I'm not gonna go through it, but it is key coded where these would be. So when you get the paper copy chip, you can look at it. And this kind of does it for building 300.
I'm sorry, Brian. Greg, you had your hand raised?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just real quick, just curious about the 200 vertical, 300 vertical, and the 400 horizontal. Is there a reason for that, or are you able to-
Yes, if you don't mind, Brian, zooming in on the key that shows the location. So we have them shown vertically at locations that are basically like along the road where there's no main entrance. So if like an emergency vehicle pulls up in front of the buildings and the entrances are on, say, the side, if you zoom in, it keynotes where the building entrance is. That way from the street, you can say, okay, that one's 200, that one's 300. And then when you get to the actual building entrance itself, there will be vinyl above the door with the number stated, and then additional, like obviously directional signage for them as well. But those aluminum vertical ones are at the front face of the building, and they're the red coded 1.2A signs and 1.2B so that you can see it off the street.
Okay, thank you.
So Brian, on that note, do you check in with like the police and fire on this?
Yeah, well, we have a meeting coming up with the chief, so we will. Yeah, on his, so that's on our list.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Brian, I would want them to say that they're okay with this and they're fine with it.
Point well taken. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna go through this really quick. This is the restaurant, Marissa, is that correct?
Yes, that is the restaurant, and that's our proposed numbering for the restaurant.
Even though the property says 200 to 400, they get their own separate outside that
Yes.
zone.
We figured that it would be more clear to kind of denote the restaurant separately just because it is its own space. So we figured it would be easy, well, not easier, but also better for the town to have it separately numbered. So that was also a discussion point that we wanted to bring up.
No, it makes sense to have their own. It's just the monument sign says 200 to 400.
Yeah, we
Not
can
150 to 400.
adjust.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll consider adjusting that.
And then this would be the lettering of the vinyl on the door. No phone numbers.
What is that imagery, the logo or the basin? What is that? Just curious what that imagery is. What's that?
Our design team created it. It's supposed to be kind of like the idea of like skipping rocks on the lake. if you look in and zoom in, it's kind of looks like there's like
I'm gonna go back to this.
imagery of rocks. It was definitely, I guess, a little bit like up to your own interpretation, I would say, when you're looking at it. But I see a sunset and rocks skipping on the lake, but that is our logo. So
I see a shout out to the bandstand. It had a
yeah.
Okay, just curious, again, the thought behind it, the marketing of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Back here. 50, this is just the key. So these are the
This is-
directional signs and
Yes, the pedestrian based directional signs. So these will be located throughout the parking area in front of the buildings, directing residents as well as visitors from the town, patrons of the restaurant, people walking the lake that decide that they want to cut up onto the site and sit down in one of our outdoor areas with the seating. It'll kind of direct them to different areas like the community center, the leasing office, public safety office. So those were strategically placed at points of decision throughout the site so that people are able to find their way to their destination.
so those are EO 1.3,
Yes.
which you can kind of see where they are, the blue tabs.
But each one of those is different, correct?
Yes, each one will be different based on the language on the sign, depending on the location, to direct you to either, like I said, the community center, the public safety center, and then like the leasing office. So depending on where it is and the way it's oriented, it will have different language. But the way that it's displayed on the sign now, like in terms of font, and arrows and things like that, with the logo up in the top right hand corner, that is about the way that we would have it, just different language.
And do we have all of those languages, or is that yet to come? And
We can,
does the sign size change with how many arrows you're putting on it?
so the max that we would have on it is what is shown here. If it did reduce, we would keep it the same. We would just space it differently, but we can create those variations if the board would like to see them, and we can show them to you, but it would not get any larger. This is the largest version of that sign, and then you can see in like the small inset what we would do if we only had two lines. It would just space it out a little bit separately. You get a little bit more of a gap in between the text in the right hand corner.
Mr. Chair, I don't know how you feel about this, but I guess I'm with this being the largest project that we've done in Wakefield, with certainly more wayfinding signage than ever before. We're always concerned that we know exactly what we're getting and have had a chance to look at everything. It doesn't sound like we're having that opportunity yet here. I don't know if we need to or not. I don't know how I feel about that yet.
Okay.
Opinions.
Yeah,
Want to table that thought for a minute?
yeah, let's keep moving, but let's table that and return at the end.
Okay. So this is just,
This is the larger vehicular directional signs that are around the exterior loop road of the site. So those will direct you to
so
various
these are
parking locations.
EO 1.4, just for the board. You can see where those
Yep.
are, green.
Are these signs lit up or no? They're just
No,
lit up by the
these will not
parking?
be,
Yeah, no
yeah,
lighting.
they will not be lit.
But these are 6 feet tall. The other pedestrian ones are 5 feet. They're a little
Right.
taller.
Correct. Is those? And then, Marissa, can you talk about this?
Yep, so in the central kind of meeting point area between buildings 1 and 2, there's a outdoor seating area where the lake paths kind of all meet up into one area at the central point of the site. So we figured that it would be a good idea to have somewhat of a like directory, basically showing where you are and where like different various locations on the site are. That visual that you're seeing there will probably change to be more of like a site map, a little bit more zoomed in. Right now you can see like a larger area, but we want to kind of zoom in on the lake path, the buildings, and then be able to pinpoint where you are and where different various locations are on the site. So just kind of
Yeah, so this is EO 1.5, which
Yep.
is
Right
right
in the
here, kind of where
center.
the community center is and the central point.
So just to be a nitpicky, because Dave brought it up already, on this sign, it says 150 to 400. What is,
Yeah,
are we going to have a consistency or not?
we will, yes, we'll make that update before we resend it out to you guys for
Okay.
review. I can have that revised tomorrow and resent out.
You don't have to jump that quickly. You're curious.
Yeah. And then, okay. And then this deals with the parking sign. So you know, you'll get this, and I'm not gonna get into the detail, but this is pretty standard. That you're all familiar with, the handicap signs, and then the restaurant customer parking, electric vehicle to let people know that it's for, you know, cars that are gonna be charged, electric vehicle handicap. So these are pretty standard, which when you get this, you can look at it in more detail when we update it. And that's it, Mr. Chair.
Right, Kasumi, did you have a question?
I do. So the first wayfinding signs, the 8.3 and
Right there.
8.4. Yeah, 8.3 and 8.4. So those like a protruding object, and you will need a cane detection on the bottom if it's open on one side like that, especially they are in the open area that where people can walk into. And I was looking at the sign, the E 1.6 secondary entrance sign.
1.6.
I think you might.
They go by it, Kasumi.
You don't have it in your.
Oh,
Oh, I think that was part of our update, Brian.
yeah, that was an update. We didn't put that in because that might have been off-site. We didn't want to show it.
Okay, so I was looking at the other PDF, the
Yes,
the
yeah,
E
this
1
changed a little
point,
bit.
yeah, so E 1.6 sign, the design is more, looks like a monument sign, which has the post on both sides with the little like over, like a U shape on the top, the open area. I was wondering, maybe you can do like all the exterior directional sign design in more like cohesive and be like same type of design. But those two directional signs, you definitely, either if you're gonna keep that style like with the one post, you have to have something underneath so the people don't walk into that sign.
What would
So
normally be?
either adding the post on the left side of the panel, just like the one you have the which one is the wayfinding sign with the lake photo? Yeah, something like that.
But Katsumi, if the signage is not over a walkway,
No,
doesn't
but
matter,
it's
does it?
still technically anyone can walk over because it's not protected by any fence or anything like that. So
So you're asking for them to have their ADA consultant verify whether it's an appropriate
Correct.
sign or not.
Yes, we can have them review it and we will have that particular signs evaluated. We can do that.
So I think
Okay.
the point's well, thank you for the point. And I think what you're kind of referring to, Kasumi, is, not just ADA, but code compliance too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But also like because I was so like your exterior sign is like a 4 different type of styles. So I was wondering maybe you want to be more simplified, like they're like the same style in design wise, like sort of looks like a monument sign on the front. And if you look at the other PDF you send it to us and look at the E1 1.6 sign, that's kind of like a mimic the style of the monument sign. Now, I was just wondering because there are like 5 different looks for the old exterior sign. Like it may if to me it feels like they all should be cohesive design look.
So you're saying these signs are different, for example, than this?
Right. So like that one has a post on both sides of the panel.
Yeah.
And then the other one has only one side. The post is only one side.
I think that just to try to answer your question, I think that the directional signs, the E1.4 and the E1.3, like due to the location, we thought that a single post would be more like I guess like better for the locations. Some of the locations right out front of the building, there's not a lot of space. But we can reevaluate. I just think that due to some of them being around the exterior loop road, and then like right in front of the building, we wanted to make them less substantial and more kind of like sleek and single post would kind of accomplish that. But we can take another look at it.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought like 1.61 is really simple and nice and it matches the monument sign. But definitely please check with the ADA consultant.
Yes, we'll check with them and have them do another review.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kasumi. Dave?
Yeah, just again to follow on. So I'm not sure why it's in our package and you guys don't have it in yours, but that offsite, that's that other, instead of a monument, you're proposing potentially something a little different. And that's what Kasumi was speaking to, like bringing some consistency. If it's not another monument, that one has 2 sides with a projecting part on top, that the one that shows the lake doesn't have that projecting part on top. So again, maybe it's just some consistency in the design with different information on them, right? Or another monument, right? So so where else was I going? Because I had another comment and I think this discussion just threw me. Maybe it was that the other offsite sign is there and you had skipped over it, Brian, but now we know why. So we will see that next time, right? Because
Yeah, well, you'll see that that
yeah.
won't be approved because the reason I took it off is as I said at the beginning, when I was wrong, hoping for approval, which won't happen, but I didn't want to have an offsite sign that we can't do on the approval package because we don't have authority to do that. So
Got it.
So that's why I took it off for tonight.
Okay.
So I think that's gonna have to be tabled to a later date because that's kind of a separate signage issue, if you will. The offsite signage.
Okay. All right. So what are the other pages? Because you went right to the handicapped and the other ones. So what were these? There are other E17s, tenant signage.
No,
Leasing.
I'm gonna get into that. That's because we're not ready for approval on that. So that's why that's gonna be I'm gonna show you that separately.
Okay.
When we're done with this PDF, real quick.
Oh, okay. So that is to come, but not as part of
Yes,
this.
not correct. Yeah.
So the ones you showed tonight are the ones that you
Yeah.
potentially would want to vote. Sounds like we're not probably ready for that, but at least you've got some feedback and maybe next time. Okay. I'm good for now with that stuff. Okay.
Thank you, Dave. Joe?
Yeah, so maybe you just answer my question, Brian. Will there be another sign package that we may or may not see if you're driving down the highway? That you're gonna try to put signage on the building, or is this just small signage that's gonna be in the area of the building?
You have
Like once you
jurisdiction to
drive in?
remove any signage, so this is what we're looking for now. But there might be other signage that comes with the project that we will bring back before the board.
All right, well, my thoughts on this. I'm fairly okay with what we have here. I know you're looking for a vote and whatever, but when I look at this package, I think of it as like its own entity. It's like once it's not right on Lowell Street, it's not right on North Ave, you know. So you kind of, on an island basically. So it's not something that you're gonna be seeing driving down the street. It's you're gonna be seeing it once you're on site. So, for me, I'm okay with it. That's my thought, anyways.
Okay, Mickey,
Yeah.
is your hand up? No? Just rolling back to Chip's kind of bigger question. I want to think about that a little bit. Chip, were you considering, something along Kasumi's lines of everything just being consistent? Is that where you were going?
Pretty much like, if we're doing stuff piecemeal, when the next round of stuff comes to think about, we now have to go back to this base, right? This base and say, okay, with this base, do we follow it? Now, to Joe's point, we're not looking at this signage being downtown next to, Public Kitchen. This is their own entity and their own branding and stuff like that. I just don't want there to be too much of it. And I'm much more concerned about how and what they're going to be looking for leasing, and what signage down the road they're going to look at for what's facing 128. Because we asked Callahan not to put up signage on the fencing, yet they did. Now, not only, okay, we weren't specific about fencing, so now that there's a parking garage, they've got it in that, and now that there's a building, they got it on the elevator. Construction company, but I'm concerned that we know what they're doing, how they're doing it, and for how long they plan on doing it, for leasing and everything else, right? Because this is a very classy project. I hope their signage package and leasing package, doesn't have the flexible gumbo up on the highway.
Yeah, that's kind of.
I'm trying to be complimentary.
Yeah. Because I'm kind of where Joe is too. I think there should be consistency, but I was going to be more focused on the signage on each end of the project out on North Ave and wherever
Yeah.
land the town decides, because they're going to need some identifying signage out on Lowell's on that side too. So, but Kasumi made some good points that made sense to me. So.
And like they said, they're probably gonna update the addresses. They may update some of the designs to bring in some consistency amongst them. So I think if we get an updated package next time, we could potentially vote on the stuff on the property, right? So they could potentially move forward with that.
Yeah.
Then, Brian, you said the leasing part, separate
Yeah, I'm gonna
discussion.
show you that now real quick. I just wanted to get a clarification because Mr. Tabell.
Yeah.
I didn't know when you referred, Chip, were you saying that you want to know what exactly each sign is going to say? Or,
I don't know that we need to know exactly what each sign is going to say, but we need to know size and what their hope is. I mean, obviously, they've got a huge billboard that's probably half a mile long in all their buildings. Yet, I'm not sure that's what we want Wakefield to be represented as one big billboard leasing. I just want to know what they're planning.
Yeah. So, but I was talking on the flagpole signs that we were talking about with Kasumi, that was a confusion because the language.
Oh. So my question is, how many different size signs are there gonna be? So you can tell me if there's two wayfinds, then it's 2 by 3 or whatever it is. And if there's 3, it's this size. And if it's 4, it's this size. But they're all gonna look like this. And I asked, do we care about what the exact wording is?
Yeah, that's what I
And
meant.
I'm not sure we do. I just was putting it out there to say, in a normal situation, we'd want to know exactly what every sign was going to say, where it was going to go, and how big it was going to be. But we may be able to just know that if it's two, it's this size. If it's 3, it's this size. If it's 4, it's this size. And they're going to be located in these spots.
Yeah, I just wanted to give Marissa the assignment for resubmittal. If you needed to know the exact language and all the wayfinding signs at this point.
I don't think I do, but I'd be curious to know whatever others feel.
Chip, I think a lot of the wording gets handled by necessity, ADA, emergency vehicles, and then the rest of it, once we get the size of lettering and font and that sort of stuff down, they're kind of on their own. That's just my thinking, as far as marketing and whatever branding they're trying to do. But I don't have a huge interest other than no phone numbers. What they put on it is kind of their thing, as long as they meet code.
No, but for us to vote on a package, we just need that.
Yeah.
Right? Where are they going?
Yeah.
And yeah, if you know what the words are going to be on these, pedestrian ones, you said if you know them, then include them.
That's fine, but we're not gonna, and thank you, Mr. Hatfield, because that's what I'm trying to clarify here, that
Yeah.
these are just examples, because take note down here in the bottom right here, corner, copy for position only, actual messages pending field verification sign location. So like, where we're showing these, it might not say visitor parking, they're gonna vary depending on where they are on site.
Right, and you're showing a plan that shows X number of them and where.
Yes.
If we approve it, that's what we got to get. And if that varies when they actually go to do the project, you got to come back.
Yeah, the number of signs is what you want to confirm. You don't care what the direction is. We can work that out in the field.
And the design, right?
Yeah,
Are they going to have 2 posts or 1 post, like ADA, whatever? Work that out, come back with an update and say, this is what they're going to be.
Okay.
I think I'm fine with it that way. I don't have to see all the words. We got to know how many and what they look like and where they're going to be. Design wise.
Thank you.
For us to vote and for them to order whatever they got to order, right?
So, yep. So real quick, just to show you on the signs that we're not looking for approval at this point, but just for discussion. This is the restaurant. And we're just kind of trying to figure, this is, can you orient the board, Marissa, what this faces?
Yep, so this is the front facing side of building 1 that you would see when you're driving up off of North Ave into the site. It's the first, first storefront that you'll see when you
This
drive
is
up
not
to the
face the
restaurant.
lake. This faces North
No,
Ave.
yes,
Yeah,
correct.
Okay, and then this is the tenant, could you explain where this is?
Yes, so that is the side of building 1 that you would, if you were standing facing the lake, that would be the entrance for the building 1 restaurant from in between building 3, which is on the 95 side, and then building 1. So
Right here?
right there. Yep, correct. Thank you.
Okay, so just trying to give an idea of, and no style or anything, but is there any thought from the board? And maybe you can give us more feedback next time. Because we'll be back, but what we're kind of looking for you to contemplate is, where on the facade of this building a sign, would be a good spot for a sign.
So are you saying like here, Brian, you're looking for two signs?
No,
Or
just no.
position A, position B?
Yeah, we're kind of given a couple potential options of where it could be.
I feel like it should be above the glass, but I don't know, I feel like it gets lost with the glass.
Above the door, yeah.
So Joe, when you say above the glass, you mean up in this area?
Yeah, above the door, above, yeah, right in the gray zone would, but yeah. I feel like it gets lost with the glass, but I don't know. It's just because maybe the font's white right now, so.
Yeah, did you guys consider that, Marissa, to put it up in this area?
We can, yeah. I mean, I think in general, the tenant sign like shown above the door, we could do something where it's kind of attached to the overhang there. That would work.
Yeah, I think until you know who it is, what it is, is it coming down from the overhang, swaying? I mean, that until you know what you're doing, it's tough to say, oh yeah, that's the right location. I mean, I think it's safe to say to your tenant, you're gonna be allowed signage. And it will be good size.
So you're
Yeah,
saying-
and I guess that was our intent with kind of presenting this, was just kind of getting that conversation started prior to having a tenant on board, and kind of showing you guys what our options were, and what we were thinking for signage at these locations.
I think of the two, yeah, over the front door versus off to the side is probably better. It's just, would you put signage over those glass windows, or would you make that top level glass a solid band with the sign there and under the gray, so it's not over glass? So I don't know, again, whether it really works over glass, or you put it at the top. I don't know. And then maybe there's something smaller at the door side. But yeah, there can be a sign right across that front entrance. I think we're good there, right? Over the front doors versus off to the side on the right side of it.
Okay.
That'd be my recommendation. And on the other side makes sense because you're on that, the pedestrian street side in between the buildings, and it seems to make sense. You'd have a sign on that side too. I think that's reasonable with hours or whatever's going to go on the door. So we just want to see that as part of any package there, right? Going to put.
Yeah. And that's why we don't want approval on this yet, because it's premature, but again,
right,
just for discussion. And then Marissa, can you kind of, the next is just, we are talking about, rental advertising, and what we would contemplate and what you would allow. The better the property is marketed, the faster it fills up. And we do have a great marketing opportunity. There's obviously a lot of interest in this building, or this project. I get calls all the time, and I think people are going to want to, when's it going to be ready? When can I go to the rental office? So this could be a, not long term, but to get us going, some marketing on 128 is something that we'd like to have discussions with.
Brian, that would be my comment, that I'm not so concerned about what you put up as this thing is getting ready to be occupied. But after a certain amount of time, I don't think there should be signage out there. I think should be short term, and I think you're right. I think you're gonna fill it pretty quick, but I don't know what that time frame is, but that's where my head is. Other board members?
Yeah, Tom, I agree. I was gonna ask that same question. Is there a time frame? Is it? Because obviously units they get flipped over the years. So is it something that's there forever? Because they're always gonna want to be leasing it because people are coming and going. So
the answer is no.
Yeah.
It's not going to be there forever.
No.
Don't even suggest it.
No, I know. I didn't want it there, but I mean, obviously you get that. You'll have that sign that says now leasing. You're not going to have a sign that says now leasing 30 years from now. But what is that? What is that? Is it 30 months? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Or is it until they're fully occupied at 85%? I mean, I don't know what that number is.
Marissa, did your marketing team have a desire on this?
I would say I can get a more specific answer from them, but I would say we would probably want to have something up there potentially like prior to our turnover of Q3 of 2025. So I would say like maybe a month before, and then through the phase of the project, I would say maybe until Q4 of 2026, maybe Q1 of 2027, depending on how leasing goes. Just so that like obviously once we have our different phases, our first phase will turn over, we'll have that sign up through the duration of the project until our last phase turns over, and then we would be able to kind of evaluate taking that down prior to that next year once everything is leased. So I don't think it's going to be a long-term sign. As you guys are mentioning, we just want to kind of get awareness out there. And this is something we're still discussing with our team of even doing. It was just kind of like a conversation we wanted to have to see what your thoughts were and kind of go from there.
I'm gonna turn it over to Greg, but Brian, that's where my head is, that we should tie it to a percentage leased. And or a year, and then come back. And if you're getting crushed and the leasing isn't happening, I think we'd be amenable to extending it. But if you're killing it on the leasing, I don't see it any reason to have it up there. But go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, same. I think just two points here. One was coming up with, like a like a substantial completion date of a building or something like that in writing, because that date can move based on your schedule. But or a percentage, I agree with that. Definitely want to work in also a period of time that this vinyl mesh sign is going, it'll fail at some point, it'll start to fail at some point. So what is that time? How long do they last? And making sure that it's just agreed on that, after 3 months or 4 months, it's just getting beat up in the weather. It's replaced, so it's not just flapping in the wind, and that would look even worse.
And Brian?
Yes.
Doesn't our signed bylaw have some basic rules and regulations on what a temporary sign is and how long it can stay up for?
Yeah, I think it allows a postage stamp without your approval.
Right.
So, you guys have
Okay.
jurisdiction on this project, so, so that's why it's gonna, and that's why you retain jurisdiction on these projects for that reason.
Right. Okay.
I seem to
Yeah,
recall
and
we've done
I'd
previous
even,
ones
to
that.
to Greg's point,
Yeah.
I would, even if it's a temporary leasing sign, I would have it look much more permanent than a banner.
We get a temporary sign, Chip gives us a 25 square foot sign.
Yeah, I don't think that will work,
Yeah.
but
It allows it
to
only for
Greg's
30, it
point,
allows
we
it for
don't
30
wanna-
days, Chip, 30 days.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So yeah, but we also don't want to, and nor does CCNF want it to look shabby. I know that. So let's just see what they come back with, and I'd go with the chair's recommendation of, a shorter time period and just keep renewing it as needed.
My
Okay,
recollection is when Everly was done, that was a planning board project years ago, and that's what they did. It was time limits, and we'd have to go back to extend it with a report.
Yeah.
So,
And the two options
Okay.
you're showing, is it like one end of building 3 versus the garage on the other end, or doing both potentially? Just one or the other? Is that what the two options are here?
Yeah, so it's either side of the garage, so they're both at the garage, but one is on one end and one is on the other.
Oh, it's both sides of the garage. Okay.
Yes.
Not on the buildings. Yeah, that makes sense.
No, not on the
Okay.
buildings.
Yeah. Okay.
okay. I think we beat that dead horse.
Yep.
Let's,
well, that's all really helpful. Thank you. So the last thing I have on this project is to just have a discussion on the community space.
yep.
That's a condition of your decision. So we want to have a discussion on that. And as you mentioned, Mr. Chair, you've been kind of away from this a little bit, this project, so this will refresh your memory. This is kind of the center gathering point outside of the project, the seating areas, you know, the modular benches. And then in this area, this leads into our public area and police substation and public bathrooms. So this is to orient you. And what they're thinking about, and this really hasn't changed much from the plans that were provided, but they've actually expanded the space. And so this is a door that will come off of the public area and another door that will come off of the public area where the patios are. So this kind of comes off of the path area, and this comes off of the alcove that I just showed you. So you can get in two ways. This is where the public safety office is going to be that we've talked to Chief Scurry about, the police substation. This is going to be 2 handicap accessible bathrooms for the public use. And then this is the community area where we're going to have some tables, chairs, some refreshments, vending in this area. And then that was what we had contemplated in the approval plans, and what they're actually talking about now is expanding it with the concept of having some offices in here that could be rentable, and they would be available to either the public or people that live in the community. So they'd be available to everybody, because they're thinking that, you know, members of the public might want to come down to the lake during the day. They're going to have Wi-Fi outside, as you recall, spend some time, but say, geez, you know, I might need an office for a couple of hours to have some privacy to you know, to make some calls or to get out of the sun, and I'd like to continue to work down here. So there'd be an opportunity for them to kind of have little rentable offices that they could utilize.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, I think that's a great opportunity.
I think it's all good. The bathrooms especially be helpful. But having the public safety right there with those bathrooms, I think, is an important safety element for everybody. So, Kasumi, I see your hand raised.
I have a lot of comments. If you're ready.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we're here for.
The rentable offices, what is the height of the windowsill?
Marissa, it's beyond my pay grade.
I would have to check. It actually is storefront at that location, so I believe
Roughly
they're
like 12 inches.
Yeah, it's pretty low.
Okay, so I see the desk facing out to the window. So if somebody's at the desk, the people walking outside, they can see below the desk. And then also you're renting those spaces, so I'm sure they'll have a laptop, phones needs to be charged, and I don't see any wall space close to the desk that they can bring the plug in. So that is one thing you probably want to check with the designer. And for the rentable offices, at least one of the rooms should have settings for like the meeting room setting. So maybe like a round table with 3 chairs or like 4 chairs. So not all the rooms are for one person use. At least give the opportunity for somebody can rent that room for a little bit to have a little small meetings together. Next thing is if it's rentable offices, I don't know if you are letting those people print things from their laptop or computers. If that is the way, you need to provide the printer stations. And I can see there's a little small desk or tables outside, like in the hallway. That should be more like a countertop with printer, like a paper stores in the below something, but that's depend on like how much service you want to give it to the people who's renting those space. And then going to the community lounge, if it's the same storefront and 12 inches so high, the height of the bench seat is usually 18 to 20 inches, which is above the window. So you are going to see the bench through the window from outside. So you want to look at how that works out. The refreshment station and the lounge area, I don't think that's deep enough for the cabinet, especially if you are planning to like put like Keurig or something like a coffee stations, and you probably want to incorporate like a trash counter in that area. The two public restrooms, they are not meeting the public restroom size in the position of how the toilet and the sinks are spaced out. And also the size of grab bar is not correct. So you probably want to check that out. Public security office, I don't know if somebody is gonna have a desk or chairs, anything in there. Nothing's gonna fit in that room. That room is too small to call for the office. So you want to look at those, the size. And then the mail room, I only see 100 mailboxes. I'm not sure how many units you're serving in that mail room. You want to check the amount of the mailboxes, and then please make sure you have either front approach or the side approach clearance on all the mailboxes. The package room, I don't know if you're planning any like oversized package storage. I see the shelf on the both side. If somebody's getting a large package, I don't know where it go. Also, if you considering like refrigeration storage, because right now like it's more trending, people getting Uber Eats and something like a food delivery. If you're not around, or if you just happen to miss that delivery, maybe there's something like refrigeration storage in the package room or somewhere else like they can store. And then the door between the mail room and the package room, that should be probably shifted a little bit, because if somebody put the large package on the shelf where the door opens, no one can open the door, or the door doesn't open like a full 90 degrees. So you want to take a look at that also. So those are my comments.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? So when you come back with the signage, you know, obviously Kasumi laid a lot of things out there. If you could just take a look at those comments.
Yep, we've got them all. I got the list. Thank you, Kasumi.
All right, anybody else? Right, hearing none. In general, I think it's great though, you know. It's kind of what we talked about, so all good as far as I'm concerned. All right, is that it, Brian?
That is it.
All right, so
Other matters, we're not motioning to continue, right? We'll just see you back next month.
Yeah.
right, yeah, we don't have to do anything.
I'll be in touch with Gail when we're ready to get back on the agenda.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you for your presentation tonight. Looking
Thank
forward to
you.
the project being done.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Okay, moving on. Next other matter, 998 to 1000 Main Street, Greenwood Station, request for an extension of time to exercise the comprehensive permit.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me just reorient if you don't mind, 2 seconds. I represent Greenwood Station LLC, and with me tonight is Eric Hemworthy, who's the principal. Greenwood Station was given a comprehensive permit by your board for multifamily dwelling at 998 1000 Main Street back in November of 2019. And it initially received 2 extensions. This project was approved just before COVID hit. It was in November of, as I mentioned, by the time the appeal period was over, we were starting to feel the preliminary effects of COVID, which went into the state of emergency on March 10 of 2020. So this really, people come back with COVID issues. These comprehensive permits are good for 3 years, but this really suffered at the beginning. Eric has been diligent and he's come back for extensions. His current extension expires in November. After COVID, then we dealt with the supply chain issues and then followed by interest rates. So what Eric is requesting, he's requested a year. I respectfully would suggest it's not long enough, and if the board would consider perhaps going to 18 months. Because what's important to note here is Eric has not pocketed this permit like some people do and says, hey, I just have this. Let me kick it around and see if somebody wants to buy the project. He has not marketed this project for sale. It was marketed at one point. Someone had approached him to buy it, and like anybody, he said, well, what do you want to pay? And lo and behold, before he even had further discussions, the person was marketing the project to resell. And Eric's attorney at the time had to send a note saying, knock it off. Not only is he not pocketed the permit, but he's trying to advance the project. He applied for a building permit back in July. Let me just get the exact dates on this. Hang on a second. So he obtained his construction drawing. So he spent the money on that with the architect in September of 2023. He then filed for his building permit, and it was referred to as it always is on projects like this by the building inspector to Felix Amell to do the municipal code review. And he entered into a contract in January of 2024 and paid the fee to have that done. The review has been finalized now on July of 2024. So Eric is ready to move forward. What's holding him up now is interest rates in the feasibility of doing it with the interest rates on moving it forward. So he's hoping that those are going to fall, as a lot of my clients are, which we think they are. And he needs more time, because even if the interest rates don't fall, he's looking to advance this. He's just going to have to move other assets around and maybe liquidate some other real estate interest that he has. But Eric is committed to this project. He's well into it for approximately $250,000. When you look at all the permitting, when you look at all of the building permit plans that he's had drawn, the peer review that the building inspector required. So again, this is not somebody that's just pocketing a permit and saying, hey, let me just hold on to this. Maybe somebody will come along and buy it. He's committed to building this. He just needs more time, as most people do at this time, with what's going on with the interest rates. So I've requested a year extension. I would request that the board maybe would consider 18 months. But that's where we stand with this. And Eric is here to answer any questions that the board might have.
Mute, Tom. Tom, you're on mute.
I'll let other board members speak up too, but if we give him the year, Brian, it's been 7 months since 7 years since the permit was granted. I know there's some difficult circumstances here, but 7 years. Ooh. I'm of the mind that the year, I want to be sympathetic, and I hear that he's trying to advance it. But I think the year is it for me. I'll open it up to other board members.
I agree, Mr. Chair. You look around town, there's building going on, so other people are figuring it out again. I don't know his circumstances relative to others, but other people are figuring out a way to navigate. We're beyond COVID now, and people are figuring out a way to do developments and find financing and whatever. So you're right. It's been 4 years now and he's asking for another year. But we want it done. It's a 40B. We need it. We want it. We want to see it through. So, I'm
I
on the
agree.
fence. I would be willing to grant the year, but not more. I just think it really, if he's gotten this far and he's got his building permit, who knows what the interest rates and the Fed's going to do, right? It may come down a little bit. It's not going to come down to 3 again anytime soon, not in a year. So it's pretty unrealistic, but so it's got to get started, right? So I'd be willing to go a year, but no more. It's got to get started. Please.
I agree with that also. The flip side of that too is all this building going on. You kind of want to get in now before too many people move to Wakefield, and then the magic is gone. And then you're going to build a building, and then no one's going to be able to rent it because people aren't looking anymore. So I feel like you don't want to be the last person building one of these buildings and holding that hot potato. So, yeah.
And are the building costs going to go down, right? Is labor going to go down, right?
No,
I mean, the interest rates might go down a little bit, but is that stuff going to come
cost
down?
has only gone up.
The longer you wait, whatever.
Yeah, just I thank the board for the previous extensions, and I put a lot of money into this so far. If interest rates go down, one of the things is not just where the interest rates are now. It's I'm a finance person. I'm not a gambler, and if you engage in this thing and you get a construction loan, and then the rates go up, you're going to see a lot of problems in the market. And that's what I'm wary of also. I don't want the rates to get down to 3 or 4. I just need them to get down a point, hopefully a 1.5, or liquidate some assets, transfer them over to this property here. But one of my biggest worries, and I think other owners and builders in the same situation, is that, God forbid, and I've been through this multiple times, probably as long as most of the people on the board have, as far as different cycles. And, if the rates go up a point, you're going to see some real problems in the real estate market. And that's probably my biggest fear right now. So hopefully things will stabilize. We'll see what happens in the next, few months. But, I'm in it. I'm looking to build it, and I appreciate your consideration.
And Mr. Chair and Brian, just to clarify, sorry, Mr. Chair, he has to exercise the permit, which exactly means what? Obtaining the building permit or putting a shovel in the ground? Like when does that? Because then it could take him a while to construct, but like when, what needs to happen for that?
Bellwether is usually the building permit for these projects.
Yeah.
So, that's usually the standard that the building inspector will hold them to.
So the extension gives him time to then how far are we from potentially doing that?
Well, he's already got to that point because he already has his building permit plans. And I think the building inspector has got I won't say he's ready to issue a permit because I don't know that, and I don't think he's considered that. But Eric is at a point now for Ben to look at it because he's had his peer review done by the co-consultant, which usually is what the building inspector wants before he will issue. So I think he's way ahead of the game here, having all that done. I think what will happen is some of the code has probably changed a little bit on the energy code that will have to be updated, but he's within striking distance of being able to go for that building permit. So I mean, I think Eric, I think a year is fine at this point. And hopefully, we're on our way at that point. I don't think the board's going to go further. And, perhaps if we have to come back, if we're right there and we just need like a couple more months, that the board will work with us when we come back after a year, but hopefully that doesn't happen.
That's what I would say, Brian. We're always willing to work with applicants. And if something crazy did happen in the economy or something, we would be sympathetic.
Yeah.
But it's good. Let's lay the year out, give them some incentive to see what he can do, and let's get the project done.
And then once you get a building, I mean, if you got a building permit in 4 months from now, say, the building inspector looks at it and then how much time do you have to exercise that building permit?
6 months.
So you get 6 months. So it's really like when you got to line things up and all that and the lead time to get everything lined up. But okay, just understand that the timeline here. So I think a year is sufficient. It really, hopefully we're there within a year.
I think we're fine with that, right, Eric?
Yes, thank you.
Not that we have a choice.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Questions? With that, I think we need a motion here.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll move that we accept the petitioner's request and extend the time for them to exercise the comprehensive permit that this board originally approved in November of 2019 for 1 more year through November of 2025. Brian, do we need a specific date?
It's
be
actually, I
specific
had
about this?
requested up until and including November 25, 2026, Mr. Hatfield. I requested 2, so yeah, 25, you're right. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
20
I always get confused. As Chip knows, I'm bad with math, so you're right, 2025.
But you said November 28th.
November 25,
November-
November
25th.
20.
because it was clocked in with the town clerk on November 25 of 2019.
Thank you. All right. So amended motion that we add the specific date. So extending that time for 1 year to exercise the comprehensive permit through up until November 25th of 2025.
Seconded the amended motion.
Okay, motion's been made, second. Any further discussion, questions? Regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mickey,
Yes.
I vote yes. Okay, you got your extension. Good luck. All right, next
Thank you,
up,
gentlemen. Thank you.
good luck. Next up on our other matters, 610 Salem Street. Request for minor modification.
Great,
Is
thank
that
you.
when you're with
Chip.
Mr. McGrail too?
Yep, I think we're pretty organized on this. I'm just gonna, if I can share my screen.
Yep, please do.
This is on the multifamily development on the Linfield line at 610 Salem Street, which is being done by the Flory family now and is well under construction. Just so we're looking for modifications to the site plan and the architectural plans. I'm gonna go through the site plan first. So this is the modified site plan, and let me blow this up a little bit. What we're looking to do is to familiarize yourself, this is the side of the building that the modifications are applicable to. This is the driveway that goes to the 40B project out back, and this is another property that's owned by the Flory family on this side. So what was designed originally was all the utilities were coming off of Salem Street, and we had a transformer in the front of the building, which I'll show you in a minute, which wasn't a great place, and we had landscaping designed around that. And we had our water coming in off of Salem Street, we had our sewage coming in, and we had our electrical coming into the transformer. What we've been able to do in dealing with the engineering department with the town, because we have common ownership across the other side of the street, we're able to now tap in and and just change the location of the water line coming in here, picking it up on this property. We're able to take our sewage and not have to interfere with Salem Street and take it over to, we're gonna do a shared pumping station here with this project, which has been approved by the engineering department. And then we're gonna put our transformer over here and get it away from the front of our building and go underground to the building. So those are the site change modifications, and these were the details of the pump that were approved. And we already have our permits to do this work. And the work is being staged and ready to go. What that does for us, for our building in the front. Really helps with the landscaping, because it allows us now. So I had James Emanuel do an updated landscaping plan. And the transformer was right in this location. And so now what we had before, if the board wants to see it, and it's up to you, I can bring it up. The old site plan had the transformer right in front of the building, because that was really the only place that we could do it. And we had like arborvitae's blocking it here, kind of surrounding it. So James has updated the landscaping plan to get rid of all that and just infill it till it all blends in. So those are the updates on the site plan. Could I answer any questions on that, Mr. Chair, if there's any, before I get to Phoenix on the architectural?
Anybody?
Nope.
Yeah, I
Brian,
think so. It's all.
one quick question.
Go ahead,
When you say things are staged, how staged are they? Or have you already started?
They've started doing the work, yeah.
Okay.
At their
Thank
own, at their own peril.
I know, but thank you. I've driven by.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm okay. I think it's a lot better for the project. I just want everybody to know that this really isn't a discuss. I mean, we could say no, but it doesn't make sense, but because it's much better for the project, but they've started the work.
Yep. Yeah, it's an improvement. So no
Yeah.
one has anything else to say, so let's move on.
Okay, and then, so Phoenix, who's gonna handle this? If you could, share your screen to show the architectural request?
Yeah, I'm handling it, Brian. For the record, Steve DeFerio representing Phoenix Architects. I'll jump up quickly. So this was kind of the main rendering of the project before. What we're asking for minor modifications is mostly just on some colors and some trim details. So if you can remember before, all of the bays that we had proposed on the building were to be painted a dark forest green. And then what we were also approved for is that dark forest green would carry over to the recessed balconies as well, and we would have mitered corners for the siding. And then up on the top floor where we're proposing the dark metal siding, the trim around the windows was going to be white. And then if I jump down. So we just started to highlight. So again, top floor wouldn't trim around the windows to be white. At the balconies on the top floor, if you guys can remember, I had the plans that were approved. We were actually recessing that fourth floor. So what it allowed us to do is to do roof decks for some of these units. So what we were proposing is that the railings would be contained only in that roof deck area and would be to be painted black. And then, as I mentioned, the bays. So what's currently in progress now is that the bays we felt with the client and for us that they feel more appropriate to be white. The image that you're seeing right now is the most up-to-date image of the project. So that's one thing we're asking for is instead of the bays being a dark forest green to stay white. What we're doing, if it's possible to keep the bays white, is to bring white trim around the recessed decks, lose the mitered corners, so it just starts to give that traditional feel. And then on the upper floor, they actually took the white trim off, so the black window butts right up against the dark metal. So the windows actually start to fade instead of the trim starting to pop out in your face. And then the railings you can see on the top floor, instead of being black, are switched to white to start to kind of match with the trim. And the client actually thought, just for safety purposes, to keep the railing continue all the way across where we're dropping that parapet wall. So those are the minor modifications for the architecturals. Happy to answer any questions the board has.
Yeah, and I can just add, so on the color changes, he has the painter ready, willing, and able to do whatever the board wants. He just thought that the white looked better. And also, his opinion was for, it's the ASAC PVC, so he said, for long-term maintenance, he would rather just keep it the white. But if the board wants the green, he can get going on it right away.
All right, comments, questions from the board?
Having driven by this numerous times, I thought we approved white. I think it looks great.
All right, it doesn't sound like anyone's got a problem. I know I don't. So
Nope.
If that's the entirety of the presentation, Brian, for
That's
this.
it. Yeah, right, Steve, that covers you?
Yeah.
But Brian, all the plans you submitted, architectural, site and landscape all tie together? Like the streetscape, the architectural, they had the first page, right? Did it show the additional landscaping? Like they all tie together? I think they do, but like, so if we
You could
approve
go
an
back to
updated
your first
set of
page of your
plans as a
architect.
minor mod.
Yeah, so the first page, the rendering we had was from our initial approval, just to show the building in its entirety with the dark forest green bays. It doesn't have the landscape updated, but I think it's pretty similar because the landscape before was around the transformer that we were hiding. So plant species is probably a little bit different from the graphic, but I think overall the streetscape's relatively
Yeah, and the
the same.
modifications on the architectural plans are only for the building features only,
Right.
as shown in the photograph with the labels on them.
Yeah.
And then you have the new site plan, Dave, and then the new landscape plan has a new date on it.
Right. Okay.
We put a revision date of 10/16 on the landscape plan to eliminate transformer.
Okay.
I mean, I will, if this is approved, I'll write it up in very detailed fashion for the chair, incorporating all this, referencing the plans, but also incorporating specifically what the changes are.
I'm good, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I think we're waiting for a motion then.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I move that we find that the changes proposed this evening on the plans presented, the site plan from Hayes Engineering dated August 6th, 2024, the architecturals from Phoenix Architects dated October 17, 2024, and the landscape plan from James Emanuel dated October 16, 2024, represent changes that we deem to be minor modifications to the existing special permit granted by this board.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made. Second, any further discussion? Hearing, seeing none, regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe, Mickey,
Yes.
Chip, where'd you go? There you are, Chip.
Yeah, yes.
And I vote yes.
Wow.
Okay, so that's done. All right, next up under other matters, 90 Bay State Road. Looking for minor modifications. Oh, I'm sorry, 62 Foundry Street. Also request for a minor modification.
Correct, and I'm handling that also. As you know, this is the old Crystal Lumber building that is now under construction by DiBiase and the Maggiore companies. And I actually, in my correspondence to you, because these are kind of minor details. When I say minor details, they're they're not big site plan issues, so I just really detailed them in my request in the email, but I also will highlight what we're requesting and why. So the first item is that the plans that were approved, the balconies have a mahogany railing. So it would be something like this. That's kind of the mock-up, if you will. And what they're requesting is that mahogany railing go to a metal railing for maintenance purposes. Because the concern is that you're gonna have all these balconies with mahogany that you're really not gonna see from the street anyways, because they're up higher, and it's just gonna become a maintenance problem over time. And just to have the metal railing would be better at the top. So that's the first request for consideration. Should I keep going, Mr. Chair? Do these all at once or one at a time?
Yeah, and if someone has it, just raise your hand. If someone has a problem or a question or a comment. Greg, go ahead.
Hey, Brian, just wondering if that metal railing is gonna be hot dip gal up there.
I'm sorry, Greg?
If it'll be galvanized railing.
It's gonna be match what was approved for the project. So I think I can probably go to, I think we can find that out, Greg. Hang on.
Just concerned of it rusting very
Yeah.
soon after it's installed.
Yeah,
Wouldn't it be like a powder coated aluminum or something, or
yeah. I'm looking now, because I think where that would have been spec'd would have been in the materials booklet.
Yeah, I just don't know if
Yeah,
it
this-
changed, if that
Yeah.
was updated or not.
I don't know if it will be in the fence systems.
It was on the mock-up panel.
Oh, should I go back there, Chip?
I mean, I approved the mock-up panel. And that it was there, so I don't know where it was in the spec book, but
yeah, the material says balcony railing, extruded aluminum, factory Kynar paint, charcoal.
Assuming it's the same material of the rest of the.
Oh, it's gonna be the same material as the rest of the railing, yeah.
So yeah, so like just take the cap off and replace it with the rest of the.
so it already
whatever they're
has
using.
just a piece of mahogany going over it. I mean, I have a problem with it. I think it should be mahogany. I think it cheapens the building to not do it. I mean, the fact that it's gonna be a little bit of maintenance every few years, well, should it, I know they bought these plans, but we spent time doing them. I think it cheapens the building.
Oh, we're just talking about the rail cap, not the railing
Yeah.
itself.
The cap.
Oh, that's in the materials. Rail cap, mahogany or teak. Okay.
Yeah, and I think
Yes.
not doing it cheapens the project. I'm not in favor of it.
Okay, set that one aside, Brian. Let's keep moving then.
Right. All right, streetlights. The streetlights showed 6 streetlights. And we met with the Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light Department. And they're suggesting 5 to kind of match or be offset to what is on the opposite side of the street at 69 Foundry Street. So they want to have one here, here, and then 2 on Maple Street. They said 6 is too much and not needed, and they're gonna conflict and be too bright. They are the same style as is across the street. So this is a theme that's gonna be going down Foundry Street with the old-fashioned street light. So we're just looking, if the site plan showed 6, we're looking to change it 5 according to this plan. And that's at the recommendation of the Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light too.
Okay, Chip, is your hand back up or is it?
Oh, God, it never lowered.
Okay. Anybody with comments on the streetlights?
Makes sense. Their recommendation. Fine. Fine with me.
Okay, the next is the, fifth floor. There's windows on the fifth floor and they're looking to eliminate them. The plan I submitted shows where they are. They're circled. And these are just really odd because they're bedroom windows that, go look out on a deck. So as they've constructed these, they said these don't make any sense because, this deck is for another unit. So, you know, you get a window looking out. So the effect of the building on that is this from an aesthetic standpoint.
So this was brought up to me when I was at reviewing the mock-up panel. I told them to go ahead and that I would speak in favor of it when they came back with other minor modifications. It was a privacy situation.
So
Made
this shows board members where that window currently is, and this is on a deck.
It's already been done. They don't have a window there. This is asking permission after the fact.
But it makes sense. It's a privacy thing.
Yeah, you can blame me for this one if you don't like it.
No, but if it was their own unit, you could say, well, you know, it's their own people, you know, it's their own
Correct.
family
It's
or
not.
whatever. But if it's a different unit, yeah, that's
Which it is, yeah.
okay.
Okay, let's move on from that.
Next. Okay. So the pergolas, on top, and I think I got the fifth floor pergola plan. Yeah, I want to show you where they are. So these are the pergolas on the fifth floor. And to orient you, this over here where the top of the screen is North Avenue, facing the middle school fields, and this is Foundry Street. So for some reason, the architect spec'd these to be painted gray. And DiBiase, and again, these are PVC also, the ASAC, so they're not, from the maintenance perspective, they think it will be better, but they just think it looks better white. And they're asking for these to be maintained as white. I can show you, I think they're in the materials book. There they are. So you see, that's kind of the look of it, and he had spec'd finish, field paint finish color pearl gray.
Comments, concerns? Going
I mean,
once,
well, I mean, there's other thing. I mean, the window trim says, you know, that's PVC or AZEC and they're painting it off white. So are there other aspects of the building that we're painting PVC or AZEC and for some reason the pergolas are an issue?
They just don't think, they think that, as I said, they think it's gonna look better. That's kind of the main reason.
No.
They don't know why he spec'd that to be a gray. When you think of a pergola, they're usually white.
They're probably painting it white because it comes white, which it's PVC, so it probably, whether they paint it or not, it'll be white to begin with. So maybe they're trying to get away from not painting it, is my thought.
I think they're getting away from painting it because it's supposed to be
Yeah.
gray.
So they would have to paint it gray.
Yeah, so I say leave it white and not paint it. I'm okay with that.
anybody else? Okay. Let's move on to the parking lot, streetlights.
Mm-hmm. So let me go back to the materials book to show you what the parking lot light is now, so you have a comparison. This is the street light, which is, they already have these, they're ready to put them up. They actually ordered 6 because they thought they had to do 6, and now they're gonna be 5. And this is the parking lot fixture that was approved. There's 3 of these. And they're just requesting to go to more of a basic fixture. Show you. Same height, 16-foot height. Their thought is this just gets lost. It's very simple.
No.
It's dark sky compliant. And they'll do either, but this was their preference.
Okay, comments, questions from the board?
Where are these, Brian? You show the site plan, just?
Yeah, I mean,
They're out back. I mean, the ones out back, we talked about it, was to try to get them to be similar to what's in front, so that we start not looking just like another parking lot out back. And I think this makes it look like just another parking lot. I don't see any need to change them.
Okay, just.
My
so
opinion.
To give you an answer, I don't know, and Chip, you can kind of point this out too, because you've been down there, but I think they're all back in this parking area and then on the side too, right, Chip?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when we talked about these, it was to kind of, not to match out front, but to keep that same feel and flavor and not make it like a public parking lot. And
Well,
this
your email
makes it
says
like a
3,
public
Brian.
parking lot.
So how many are we talking about? The email says 3 along the train. So how many of these are there in the parking area?
You're back here. See him in the back, Dave?
Okay, but you said there was some going down the
Yeah,
side too.
I was wrong. I stand.
No, the
corrected.
side is underneath the
Right.
building.
Okay, so it's just the 3 out back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with Chip.
Yeah.
I just don't see the need. I'd like to keep it
Okay.
Yeah,
more
looks
residential.
like
in
they're
that
cheaping,
Yeah.
cheaping it out.
Okay. And
All
then
right,
finally,
to sum up, unless people have other comments.
one more thing, Mr. Chair.
Okay,
That's
I
okay.
thought that was the end of the list.
No, one more thing on the list. So they're looking to do some landscaping lighting, which is an add-on. They thought it would be a nice feature in these areas. So this is out along Foundry Street and then Maple Street and in the landscaping beds, and to give you an idea on that, what they're thinking about. Is this.
And
you
it is
saw-
it's along a sidewalk, isn't it?
Yeah, correct.
Right, so I think this will be real nice, lighting the sidewalk.
This is not, this is an add-on. They just thought that it would be a nice amenity for the building. It would really warm it up.
I have no
Again,
problem. Anybody else?
Fine, looks good.
Are those additional to the street light they're
Yeah.
adding to?
Yes.
Okay, So in summary, Greg and Chip had a problem with the handrail, so I think the mahogany handrail stays on the balcony, and I think what I heard is the lights out back stay. Everything else is gonna be okay as a minor mod. Board, did I get that right?
Sounds right, Mr. Chair.
Could I ask on the mahogany, would there be a possibility of an alternate material like a mahogany lookalike? That could be approved by a board member that, would be like a PVC material, but
Did they consider ipe? Because they
don't-
are weatherproof and used for decking and all that stuff. A
yeah,
lot
that's,
of the
I
time.
don't know. I'm not familiar with the material, but I'm just thinking their concern was the mahogany and I'm wondering if I could go back to them and say, if you can satisfy, a board member with a substitute material that,
So that ipe is the wood.
yeah.
It's very dense and it's usually for the exterior use.
Mhm.
It'll just look like mahogany.
Yeah.
I don't know that it comes thick enough.
Oh,
I've used it. Looks just like mahogany, but to that point, mahogany, if you prep it right, it's fine outdoors. People use it for decks all the time. It's a hard wood. I mean,
So you want the mahogany?
So it goes on boats.
yeah, exactly.
What I was gonna say, Brian, is if you can get it by Chip, I got no problem. But good luck.
I don't
He's
think
gonna be a designate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have no problem empowering him, but in terms of the minor mod, it's not happening tonight and it's not happening on the lights. So everything else is good. And then if you want to talk to Chip, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, Brian, my comment, I remembered what, I went back and looked at the email we received. So there was a mock-up provided, correct?
Yes.
And it looks like it's like a tube steel. So I may not be seeing it right, but it looks like they're changing from aluminum to a steel. So if that's the case, they would need to hot dip gal the steel. Would be my recommendation. Unless they stick with aluminum and then it won't really matter.
I think, let me bring up the mock-up, Greg. This is certainly not my area of expertise, so.
No, the mock-up had mahogany on.
That's aluminum with mahogany.
Yeah.
Right.
When the what they provided looks like it's a,
Oh, I'll bring that up.
yeah, maybe it is aluminum, but I just want to make sure.
No, I know what you're saying. It does look like the picture they provided looks like a different. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I'm gonna bring it up, Greg, to show everyone what you're referring to, because they did provide this. And that doesn't look like.
Yeah.
I don't think that's extruded aluminum. That's like a tube steel grinded. That'll rust.
Yeah, look at the corners, Greg, that aren't painted.
Yeah.
Looks like it's welded.
Yeah, so that was just my concern.
I don't, but that's not what they had in their mock-up, right? So.
No.
All right, I'll get a thanks for bringing that up,
Yeah.
Greg. I'll get a clarification on that and. So basically, it's gotta be mahogany. If they wanna change the railing material, we gotta deal with Chip on that to make sure it doesn't rust.
Right, if they want to change the railing and mahogany, if they want to change anything on beyond the mock-up, they gotta deal with somebody.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's a good point, Greg. Thank you.
Anything else, board members? Dave, you have what you need to make a motion?
I'm trying to get there because the materials he sent, I mean, it's not everything's dated. It's some we approved, some we didn't. So I'm just.
I would respectfully suggest you just go by the items in the email and I will document them diligently in the draft the letter from Tom and do attachments of what, I'll look, if you just refer to the email, Dave, it will be a simple emotion and I will.
No, I understood, but like the landscape plan, I think was going to show the bollards or where they were going to go, but I don't know that there's a modification on it. So
Well, there's not a modification. The modification is that they're actually putting them in. You're saying they're not on that plan that was circled?
Are they, Brian? I see red.
It just shows where they're going. That's what it
Right.
does. Yeah, the
And
area
then
that
there's
they're
a
going.
spec sheet on them, and then there's a spec sheet.
That's
So-
right.
That's okay. They
All
can
right.
put 1 or 20 in.
Okay. And then the materials book again has things like the pergola is gray, so. Are you
Well, the
gonna,
materials book was the original materials book. I just attached that so you could refer to it when you were considering this. So, so again, the decision will say, the letter will say that, that it was specified that the pergolas were going to be gray as shown in the book, but the board has now approved them being white. Simple as that.
okay, board members, do we need another booklet? Like, what's gonna go on the file?
No,
Is someone gonna
no.
remember?
Yeah,
Or
the
is it
letter
piece
will,
together a
the letter
decision with
will
the
be
original
attached to the
materials?
booklet.
Okay, well, normally these minor mods, we get updated plans. We approve updated plans. In this case, we're updating things that are in an email with plans that aren't really reflective of that. You know what I'm saying? So, Brian, I know you'll spec it out, Mr. Chair.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, to update the material
different, that's all.
booklet is, that's gonna be more confusing. So that's why, because like I said at the beginning, these are kind of minor tweaks, that are either acceptable to you or not, and, 4 of them are, 2 aren't. So, the streetlights have a plan, the 5th floor window has a plan and an elevation that will actually attach to the letter. The landscaping, it has a plan with a spec will attach to the letter. The pergola will reference it in the letter, and that's pretty much it.
Okay. All right, I just want to be clear. You asked if I was ready, and I was trying to get there, so. Okay,
It's good to be
All right.
detail oriented for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Mr. Chair, I will make a motion that we accept the changes proposed this evening, specifically the Foundry Street lights going from 6 to 5, the removal of 2 5th floor bedroom windows for privacy, that the addition of low voltage landscape lighting, leaving the pergolas on the 5th floor white, unpainted, and I think that's it, those 4 items. We approve those as minor modifications to the special permit granted by this board, and we specifically do not accept the other proposed changes of the railing cap material and the parking lot lights in the back, changing that style. So those are to remain as previously approved. The other items are considered minor modifications to the special permit per the plans presented that reflect that.
Seconded.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing seeing none, regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mickey,
Yes.
I vote yes. Okay, completed that matter. Next up, 90 Bay State Road, same thing, seeking a
Yep.
minor modification.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is pretty simple and straightforward. This was a decision, a finding decision that specifically referenced the site plan because it addressed the parking at 90 Bay Street Road, Liberty Chevrolet and Power Products. It was a decision by your board dated November 2023. And what happened is, I think I mentioned they're going to be condomizing these 2 units, and we're finalizing the plans for that. And we noticed a discrepancy in the handicaps parking. So this is, I'll show you
Didn't we already take care of this?
no,
We did something.
well, yeah, you did on the site plan that you adopted for the parking, there was a discrepancy in the handicap spaces.
Okay.
So they had too many. So this is the plan that you approved in your decision of November 2023. And we had 5 handicap spaces with the Power Product side, and then we had 6 with the Liberty Chevrolet side. That's not what's there, and it's not what's required. So if you look at the required parking down here, and this again is the plan that you've already approved on the Liberty side, 99 spaces are required. We had a total of 169. And on the power side, 90 are required, and we had a total of 109. So that's what was approved, and this is we're asked for the modified site plan, which is this. On the power product side, we've gone from 5 down to 4 handicap. And on the Liberty side, we've gone from 6 to 4 because that's what's required. What that's allowed is a little shift in the spaces. So now each side actually gets an additional parking space too. It goes from 169 on the Liberty side to 170 and from 109 on the power product side to 110. And that's the only change that we're requesting as a minor modification to.
Did they figure this out when they were restriping or something, Brian?
No, we figured it out when we were doing the condominium plans. Chip.
Ah, okay.
I saw it. I said, wait a minute, this doesn't match what we have at the board, and it's pretty important that these match. So it was originally approved, as I mentioned, August 28, 2023, and this would have a revision date of August 20, 2024. And Mr. Hatfield, that was, I mentioned, a finding that was given by the board, clocked in by the town clerk on November 1, 2023.
Okay, any comments, questions from the board on this one?
Nope.
Hearing, seeing none.
Mr. Chair, I will move that we grant or that we find that the proposed changes to the parking layout on the site as presented this evening by on the plan dated from Hayes Engineering dated August 20th, 2024 are considered a minor modification to the finding granted by this board November 2023.
Seconded.
Motion's been made, seconded. Any further comment or questions? Hearing, seeing none. Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mickey,
Yes.
I vote yes too. That is approved.
Thank you.
Next up, under other matters, 957, 959 Main Street, 7 Continents Montessori School. Discussion regarding signage.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Michael Pratt. I'm working closely with Rocio Acevedo, the owner of 7 Continents Montessori. I'm charged with developing her brand assets and the signage that we're going to look at tonight. So with ladder and tape measure in hand, I went to the property, which is located at 963 Main Street in Wakefield, Unit 12C, part of Greenwood Plaza. I measured every part and parcel. What I'm going to do is share with you my screen so we can run through this together. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, but it's just your it's not representing the pictures.
Let me reshare this. Share. Should be desktop 2. How's that?
Yep, there you go.
Great. So I've measured every piece and, just for creative usage. And then in the blue, you're going to see what the actual square footage is. Underneath, I've provided a clear, clean representation of what we're trying to do, which is the 7 Continents Montessori on the very top, utilizing Gemini lettering. And what we'll do is some window clings. So using on the panel A, what we saw here, which is using 10% of that particular window, as well as the other doors, door A and door B. We have the dimensions here. So 10% of that window, that window cling will be about 36 inches wide by 12 inches tall. The other window clings that show the 7 Continents Montessori, just the logo itself, will be about 26 inches in width. And for the exterior sign, we've got some challenges in terms of just the amount of height where we're kind of tucked into a corner, and we are pretty much delegated between the height of the doors and that lip. Above the lip, you see 3 dots, and those are meant to represent the gooseneck lighting that Michael, who manages the property, will install for us. And we're working with the sign shop in Wakefield as well, that's obviously very familiar with the do's and don'ts and the ins and outs. So the exterior signage that we're presenting here is 170 inches wide by 20 inches high for a total of 23.67 square feet. And that top panel, when I'm saying 4 panels, which you can see those delineations, is about 51 square feet. We have another proposed direction just to show a little bit more contrast and pushing that logo over to the left a little bit, because we know with oncoming traffic that they have probably a better chance of seeing that. And again, trying to activate this area so it's a little bit warmer, a little bit more friendly. This may totally go against you know, the rules and regulations within Wakefield, but using some images, that's why I was measuring every kind of component to take advantage of those creases in the way that the cement is you know, broken up. So we were thinking about that, and it, you know, would be about the same. It would be the same size for that main sign, and the same thing for the window clings.
Okay, is that the entirety of your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Any comments, questions from the board?
My first comment is that images are part of signage. So on the one that's pushed to the left with the images, there's way too much square footage.
Okay, that's what we thought. I just wanted to present something that we thought illuminated the area a little bit. But this would be ideally what we would want to move forward with, maximizing the height of the logo according to that very, very small space that we have to work with, given the, again, the lip, and then the gooseneck lighting is right above. The depth of the images, the depth of the Gemini lettering would be about 2 to 2.5 inches. And we'd work with Rich at the sign shop just to make sure whether the white gives us enough contrast or the black. So that's why I'm showing you these 2 versions as well, because it's kind of a tricky substrate beneath it.
So which do you want to go with, white or black?
I'm thinking the black is going to give us the contrast that we need against that tan color, especially during the day, because that's when the Montessori is going to be most viewed.
So
Then the
you're
doors have it
thinking
as
of the
white.
7 continents more centered on the top band with that being black. not
Yes,
white.
sir. Yes. So you've got the 3 window clings below, and then 7 continents Montessori. The Montessori, I'm thinking, will be in black, but I just want to verify that.
But then it'll be
Well-
white on the doors, right? Because the doors are
Yes,
dark.
correct, yes. A brand should have some flexibility, so that's what we'll do, yes.
It doesn't look centered to me.
It may look a little bit off because I'm not taking into account that very small, thin left strip. Because all these dividers, I'm trying to center it between, you know, where that where the very edge of the left window is with the very edge of where the brick starts. So it may look off just a touch, but the idea obviously is to center it in that space.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, Chip. It looks centered over that bottom panel with the, whatever that is in the middle of light.
Right.
Not
So
necessarily over the facade.
it's a visual tricky thing.
Yeah.
That, you know, sometimes you center it according to your eye, not what the machine or, you know, the program will tell you what's centered.
Okay, any other comments, questions?
So just to clarify, the signs all conformed or are bylaw? The width, area, you said 10% on the door.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I did the measurements here, so the exact 10% of panel A, which I'm calling that large window, that sign cling would be 36 inches wide by 12 inches tall. And you can see that the dimensions of that window are 28.76 square feet. So 92 inches tall, 45 inches wide. So it's really tiny in comparison to what that, what that window is.
Right, and board members, the top, what is it, 2/3 of the facade? And so many square feet, right? It's 50 total.
Yep, and I have 23.67 with that size. Again, trying to maximize the height.
Right. Yeah. Seems fine. I just wanted to confirm we're
Okay, absolutely.
meeting the bylaw.
Yep.
I have no problems either. Anybody else?
I mean, I might be inclined to keep Montessori white on the building and the doors, so it's all consistent, but if they want to do a black white, it's up to them. But we got to approve something, so.
Yeah, I'll work with the
Gotta tell
sign
us what you
shop
want.
and actually take the Gemini, the plastic material and do a comparison test between, morning, noon and night, just to make sure, that's all.
So what are we approving?
Right,
I
we're
think
supposed to approve something.
If we have to move forward, I would say we go with the black. That's definitely, because looking at the surrounding businesses, the cleaner, the Boss Mama, they've got more of a saturated palette for their lettering. So I think the black is the way to move forward. So that's what we'll recommend.
Black on the building, white on the doors?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think black on the doors would just go away,
Correct.
so.
Okay. Got black on building, white on door. So Dave, I think we're ready for a motion.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I was gonna say if we had a page or something that represented it, we'd say, as depicted on page whatever, but we don't because it's. So we'll have to just get specific here. So, and
I can
these renderings
do
are from
a.
the sign shop? It's
I'm sorry,
interesting.
I can do a mock-up tomorrow morning that is this page right here with the black and submit that to, I think it was Gail, so there are no questions whatsoever.
Okay,
Dave, I think if you just called out, I got it in my notes, so I'll work it out with Gail.
yeah. It's just, again, the sign plan, the dimensions were on another page, which are good to have, right? Because that's part of the record.
Yep.
This, obviously with
I'll-
black is fine. Yeah.
I'll update these pages here tomorrow morning so that you have these 3 pages with the black, so there's no questions as to how we're gonna move forward.
Okay. And you said, you're not with the sign shop, you're working with them?
I'm working with them, yes. They were
Okay.
recommended to us by Michael from Greenwood
Okay, so
Plaza.
you did these, not the sign shop? You
I did
these?
them, yes.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. So, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the sign package presented this evening, specifically depicting the 7 Continents Montessori sign with black lettering on Montessori centered on the facade with white Montessori on the doors, which will be amended by the applicant and presented to us for the file. And I think that's the motion.
Okay, motion's been made, seconded. Any further discussion? If you could stop sharing, I'd appreciate it. Hearing none. Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
I vote yes. Sign is approved. Thank you. And thank you for your patience tonight.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Okay, moving on, we got clerk board comments.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I got 3 items quick. First one, North Ave, Chip went by last week for the mock-up panel. So just trying to
All set.
get that for the record. Also, we had a bylaw review committee Monday meeting, and one of the things that came up, and I kind of already know the answer because I talked to Chip about this earlier, is Probowski suggested that we for the special site plan review, special permit, to get rid of it from our end and give it to planning board, but I think the consensus I got was just to keep it the way it is.
Yeah, I, that shouldn't be getting the planning board's thing. Absolutely not.
We've gone over this year after year after year, so.
I wasn't aware of that. It was brought up, so I figured since I was gonna see you guys tonight anyways, I'd bring it up, but I will just, comment that on our next meeting, which is in 2 weeks, November 4th, I believe, is our next meeting. But what you were saying earlier, Mr. Chair, about in 2 weeks after that, November 18th, we're gonna have another meeting talking about 6.3, the performance standards. So if you wanna join, that would be the time to chime in on that new section. That's that 9 pages that are gonna be added to the bylaw. So
Yeah, I will do my absolute best. They have these meetings Monday nights when I generally am at a city council meeting somewhere. But I'm gonna have to carve out time to drop into one of these meetings, I think.
So
Okay.
that's it.
Encourage other members to follow along with that. All
Yeah, we
right,
should definitely go to the 18th one.
okay. I'll try to write something up too. And then what I'll do is maybe we can't deliberate, but I'll just share my thoughts maybe. So you see where they are and you can agree or disagree or.
Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate that.
Any, thanks for that, Joe, and thanks for your ongoing service there. Your
very
reward
welcome.
comes in your next life.
Appreciate that.
All right. Anything else from anybody? Oh, Brian, I see your name still there.
Yes.
Just had, just a couple of updates. Saw 998 tonight with, Crescent Ave.
Yep, they've applied for their building permit. I think, Gail, right? They've applied. I think it's in review.
I think it's in review with the third-party reviewer.
Yeah.
Then what, are we gonna look at it after that, Gail?
Yes, yeah. I'll call you guys. Yeah.
He's reviewing it for code, Chip.
Yeah, and then we have to review it for
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
for ZBA compliance.
And then I think it has to go over to engineering. Yeah, for them to review it.
But that expires when? February 2025?
Yeah, it's coming up in the spring, so they're moving. Yep, they're ready to go.
But again, if are they gonna be
They should be done.
exercising it by that time and they're good and they're moving forward, or do we, potentially have another extension in front of
I
us?
don't think you're gonna have a major extension here. I mean, if any.
Well,
I've
it'd
like
be
sent them
great.
100. I've sent
Yeah,
them
we
an
wanna
email
see it
like
moving.
an
Okay.
email every month.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
All right, Dave, you had a couple more. I think I saw the email on the GMC, so I think we're straightened out there. There was the,
Well, just for the benefit of the board, like that car dealership, Brian, I don't, just a quick update, so the other board, because we approved this updates, right, to the site and the signage and the building, but obviously things have changed, it sounds like, so. Just
You
so the
want me to-
board members are aware, quick update.
Sure. Is that okay, Mr. Chair?
yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, so, yeah, so the, Albrecht Buick GMC had been before the board, and received, permitting to upgrade, do some minor upgrades to the building, but mainly signage. And once they were done, had permitted at GMC, said you might want to hold off because if you do this, we're changing our program. You're gonna have a new building that looks like 25 years old. So, and so they decided to put it on hold until they're getting the new programming from GMC. So they did not exercise those permits, they've lapsed. In the interim, they have also are in the process of purchasing Wakefield Subaru next door. So that's going to become an all-brick dealership also. That's closing on October 31st. The town council Monday approved the license the new license, car dealer license for them for that. And they are going to be doing upgrades to both facilities, and not, you know, it's hard for them to put timing on it. The town council pressed them on that Monday. This is an all brick dealership. You know, this will be, I believe, their 8th dealership now. So they want to upgrade those buildings. We've already had architectural meetings, site civil meetings on upgrades. I think you might actually see new buildings put there. They're really trying to design what they're going to do. So there's going to be some major things, I think, real positive things happening to that site in the not too distant future. That's the update.
You'll be coming back to us.
Oh yeah, they have to come back to you.
Yeah.
Unless it becomes a planning board site plan approval, then we'll be going there.
Okay, Dave had a question too about the sushi place we approved on Albion Street. Just got, there's a ton of signs out there. They're obviously out of compliance.
Yeah,
You know, I don't know if it's a language barrier, what's going on there.
I called them. I got Mr. Hatfield's email and I called them. I informed them. I said, you know, what you've got there doesn't comply to zoning. You presented a preliminary sign. You need to have it in conformance. I'm happy to help you however I can. And they appreciated it and they recognized it. And they said they would take care of it and get back to me.
Okay.
Yeah, we approved it like, I went back like April 2023 and
Yes.
took them a while to actually do something. I kept driving down Albion and it hadn't changed. And suddenly it opened up a few weeks ago and seeing stuff on Facebook and yeah. So when you drive by, you're like, yeah, something's got to happen there. If they want to be a legit business, they got to have some sort of nice signage and not cover all their windows. So,
yeah.
But
So
thank you, Brian, for following through on it. Yeah.
I made the call.
Thank you. That's all I had, Mr. Chair. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. No
Brian,
problem.
since you're on, whatever happened with 525 Salem Street? It looks like they cleared that lot.
Yeah, they decided not to go forward with their multifamily and he's looking for other uses or, you know, other developers on the site.
All right.
So
You
that
mentioned pickleball. You mentioned pickleball
Yeah,
at one point.
that fell through, Joe.
So is he trying to sell that?
He's trying to either sell it or lease the land, but you know, it's owned by a really good owner, Bob Zarowski. He's just an experienced guy, so something will be coming.
Right. There's people out there looking, I think, to buy it. So that's all.
Anything going on with Melise?
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's 11 o'clock at night. I love this conversation, but I got up at 4 this morning. I'm done. If this is what we're gonna do, I'm signing off. I don't need to review every project we okayed in the last year.
All right. Point
Sorry.
well taken. Yeah, I've had a long day too. I'm ready to pack it in.
I stayed awake.
So-
I did really well tonight.
All right, let's, unless it's something really pressing, let's move on and improve our minutes.
Okay. Are we ready to approve the ones from September 5th?
No, because I'm a jerk, but besides that, I'm not ready for September 5th.
Okay.
I got a month now. I'll get it done before November 20th.
Mr. Chair, I recommend I move that we approve the meeting minutes of our October 9, 2024 meeting.
Seconded.
Okay, we can do this by voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Seeing none. Thank you, Gail. Sorry about the fifth. I will get to it.
No problem.
Motion to adjourn.
Always in order. All right, folks.
Good
Have a good
night.
night.
Right.